Good evening, everybody. All right, tonight we have Mike Cann, a local activist, podcaster, vodcaster, all kinds of fun stuff. And we are going to be talking about our local fascists and what has been happening to them. We are going to be talking about Biden's inauguration, Ajit Pai being out at the FCC, all kinds of fun stuff. So, without further ado, let's go. And we are live. How we doing, everybody? How's it going, Mike?
I'm doing good. How you doing, Gregg Housh?
You know, I am in a good mood today. Not because the person I wanted to be president is president anymore, but because the person I really didn't want to be president is out. You know,
I
I at least
agree.
got half
Yeah.
of what I wanted.
Right? I
You
mean,
know?
I don't. I'm good with Joe Biden. Like, I'm probably more supportive than you are on that. But like, I just feel like finally an adult is back in the room. But the big thing is what you said earlier. Trump is gone. Like, that is just. It's like, I don't know. It's so weird. It's so weird after 4 years of that crap that it's over.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, that's my salt. Have you heard that noise? It is so weird with the feelings today because you watched him leave, and I don't know if any of you watched the video of him leaving, but you know, he waves to the media, and he's there with Melania as they're walking by. She doesn't even slow down and look at the media. She just keeps on walking and ends up like 5, 6 feet ahead of him because she wants none of this. She's done. Um, you know, you know, it was crazy to kind of see that. I'm sure she was heading straight to the divorce lawyer now that her contract is over. You know, it's funny. I showed my stream once a few episodes ago the picture of the Russian Bride website from the 90s with her whole profile on it. Because that's a thing. So, you know, I mean, we all knew, but, you know. So, yeah, so Trump is gone, and supposedly he left a letter that Biden liked, that Biden says is generous, on the desk for him. That is so hard to believe. Do you believe it?
Maybe. I don't know. Who knows? You know, it's that's an interesting point. Who the heck knows? Like, who knows if Biden's? It could be Biden just trying to, like, you know, send Trump a signal. Maybe he's saying, you know, because you know, we all know Trump still has a big following,
We do. 74 million people voted for that man.
and a lot of them, as we've been, you know, I think we've both been seeing it over the last months, are violent. I mean, they are gun-toting, violent people that we've seen. I mean, they've done things over and over again over the months. I haven't even gone to these protests. I'm just watching from afar through friends like
Right.
yourself
Right.
to go to them.
And a
And
couple of them in the chat here. Good old Splendid Spoon there, Lauren and Rod
there you
Weber.
go.
Yeah, Rod, you know I supported you. I believe in the ponies. I just don't believe in the ponies. You know? Like, it's a different thing.
He's talking about Vermin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I interviewed and supported Vermin too, and I'm a friend of his. But
Yeah, we had him on
I
the show
voted Joe.
already.
I voted Joe Biden. I mean, it's time to
Right.
get serious, you know. And I think my critique on the whole Vermin thing is that most people don't get the joke. Most people really, like, apathy is not a good thing. You know,
No.
having a joke about a serious thing is not always a good thing, especially if people are taking the joke serious. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's
You have to be able to watch him as the performance art he is while
that's
still
right.
attempting to get the message out of it.
That's right.
And while also having fun with the people who aren't getting it and just think this is real and this is an insane man. You know, you can have the fun of both. You know, if you watch it as performance art and you realize it and you know him on a personal level, then it's amazing. And if you just think he's insane, well, then maybe it's funny. But I mean, that's about it. I hope most people fall somewhere in between those two, you know, so it kind of, you know, hits them.
Me too.
So
I just hate apathy. I think that people there's too many middle ground people now. Like, that they're the ones who have actually let this happen. The ones who conflate both sides. Like, and I'm talking about non-Trump people,
Sure.
That's what kills me the most lately.
But here's the deal. Biden is a centrist who leans right and hasn't ever been a Democrat or voted for anything even close to leftist or left ideals. So, like, when we talk about those people in the middle, we're talking about the guy that was just elected who, for the most part, writes laws that put people in prison, supports wars on the floor of the Senate, and helps put the Patriot Act together and surveil the hell out of us. So, like, I don't know that, like, I'm there with you. I'm a little farther left than that, like a lot farther left than that.
See, I agree with you mostly, but I feel like it's not giving him enough credit in a way, because I feel like he's
for like the drone strikes, or what are we giving him? No.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I think he gets it now. Number one, I think that was like before the 8-year term.
This is a wait and see kind of thing,
and not even that. I also think like a lot of times they compromise, they make deals, they do things for even sponsors, even money. Like maybe, there's other reasons sometimes they do things at moments, but I feel like the middle ground people, he's ahead of them. Like, I feel like he's more likely to support Medicare for all than the middle grounders I'm talking about. That I see, the apathetic people. That's what I'm trying to say. Like,
I agree with that. I agree with that. Now he said, or you said something about like working, right? And my biggest issue with Biden that always pushes me over that edge beyond the standard, his segregationist work, his war work, and all that other stuff, which we just know, is when he has reached across the aisle, a few different people, Salon and a few others, did the work to go through and find, because he's talked about as this guy who can get the Republicans on board. Not once has he ever done that. Instead, he has gotten the Democrats on board. Every time he's been lauded as this guy who did a great reach across the aisle, it's him convincing the Democrats to vote for the Republicans. And that's why I call him center-right, not center-left, Because when he does that outreach, like, it's never in a direction I want it to go.
I would say his past record is definitely center-right. I mean, that would be probably, as a Democrat, he almost like a Democrat in Massachusetts.
So what you're
most people think we're so liberal, but we're a one-party state. But most of the Democrats here are kind of conservative. Most people would consider Republicans if we didn't have a one-party state.
And that's why we end up with so many Republican governors.
That's right. And I feel like he's pretty much the same thing, Joe Biden. But I also feel like politicians like a Joe Biden. And a lot of these long-term politicians, they change over the time, and they don't just change because they often feel like it. Sometimes that happens from personal experience. We do see that, but more often the greater change happens when there's a movement behind them.
Okay.
And I feel like over the last, since Obama, even to Obama, I just look at the generational change. I think when I'm a person from the X, what do we call that? Generation X generation. Yep. And when I would go to these mass can normal and cannabis reform meetings, it would be me and baby boomers and World War II vets. And so it was it was just a generational, they didn't understand the times, but they had all the control.
Right. So you are giving me an argument that there is some water to. That
and
he
now
is a good politician.
Yeah, and now there's so many young people. There's so many young people, women of color. Like, there's so much here. Back when I started in cannabis reform, it was all white men. Occasional white woman. I mean, that was it. Now you go to the meetings and it's younger, and I'm saying mostly older white men. I was like the only young person there. Now it's everybody, and younger and more diverse. And I just feel like that's going to be the difference. Like, I think that sometimes when we just go on record, it's always good to go on record. I mean, I'm all about that. But in this kind of situation, I think we should be a little more hopeful. I feel like we can get more, and I think we need to ask for it. I think that absolutely we have to hold them to account. We have to ask for the good things. Myself, I would consider myself always a centrist at this point myself. But I feel like as a centrist, you have to be against
left from where you were, because you were libertarian. You were over there.
I feel like I'm issue based.
Okay.
You know, and I feel like the almost the pragmatic, practical answers in this world, as the world exists, the pragmatic answer is usually to the left, unfortunately. I mean, it's not unfortunate or fortunate, maybe that's a misstatement, but it just, that's the way it is now. Like, if you're a person of conscience,
deal,
yeah,
UBI.
yeah, look into it. There's a reason why we don't want to frack. I mean, I understand the economic consequences of stopping fracking. It's going to cost, so it really will cost a lot of jobs. Right. It will really hurt.
For that, we need a big infrastructure push, which you know looks like it's one of the things he's going to do. Now this is where I get a little different than a lot of my super hardcore lefties. I am willing to at least watch for a few days and see what signals he's sending and where he goes. But I do not believe for a minute that he's going to be a president that I agree with, or that he's going to do the things I want him to do. I don't think Medicare for All is coming under him.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, but, I think that if there was a chance, and if it ever got passed to his desk, I think he would sign it in a quick second. But is
That's
Medicare?
Not what he said.
No, it's not what he said. You know why he doesn't say that? You know why he doesn't say it? Because he knows it's not going to get to his desk. Like, think about what Obama had to do just to get Obamacare.
Yeah.
And we had more reps, like Democrats. We had more Democrats in the Congress. So, like, he's being pragmatic, you know? And so if you can't get something passed, why are you promising? That's kind of my issue a lot of times with the Bernie Sanders people. Honestly, I love Bernie for a lot of things, but sometimes it's like, is this actually even possible? Like, we were looking at the Congress. It should all
be possible because none of his policy is actually radical in any way. His policy is centrist in Europe.
No, I get it. Like, I just look at the reality of what we're dealing with. We can't even get highway control. We can't even get the old pork passed. Like, we are so dysfunctional now. You remember, like, the easy bills for anyone to pass was like a highway bill, infrastructure. We can't even get that stuff passed. We can't even get money to states and cities and towns. Like, we can't even get money to the cops. I mean, that's how messed up the system in Washington, D.C. is now after 4 years of Trump, and even before that, 8 years of Republicans blocking Obama. Like, we can't even get stuff done that has the institutional backing. So how are we supposed to get something done that's so third rail as Medicare for All? You know what I'm saying? So that's the way I look at things. I think
it's completely broken. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just pragmatic. That's what I try to do.
Let's talk a little more about that, though, because I want to show chat a couple things here. So today Biden got inaugurated and then goes straight to the White House to start signing executive orders to both institute some new rules, but also undo a lot of Trump's, dirty work, basically. So I want to show a couple of things here. So we're going to switch over to part one, which is this. This is the view if you're sitting at the Resolute desk. And you'll notice dead center there with what is referred to as pride of placement. He has moved FDR to the dead center. That is a signal he is sending to workers, of course, and to people who want infrastructure work done and all those types of jobs made. And then you follow that up with his next move, and you'll see back there behind him on the desk in between the two flags and amongst all of his pictures, a bust. That is a bust of Cesar Chavez, labor organizer, protester, sometimes rioter, and organizer of the UFW, the Farmers Union, and the Farm Workers Union. And he, you could tell he is attempting to send very, very strong signals to labor that I'm pro-union and we're going to have some kind of a, not the full New Deal, but some kind of a deal. Now, do I believe him is the hard part here, because like we've said, he's a politician, so I get the signals, and I know what they're supposed to tell us. Do I believe he's going to do them is my problem, and I just, it's hard to believe he's going to do them.
Well, I think it's going to be an improvement from where it was. And what I mean by that, Department of Labor.
It's hard not to be.
Department of Labor. When a few years ago, my background for a lot of people too is I was over 10 years in the financial industry, Series 7, 63, life, accident, and health. At the end, I was at AIG. I worked at Fidelity, Pioneer. What was the other one? Pioneer Investments and American Express. And then the big one was AIG during 2008. I was managing a lot of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, small accounts, retirement accounts, a lot of individual accounts, and group retirement plans at hospitals and higher ed. And the reason I just bring that up is I lost my career, basically because I got in trouble for cannabis. And that was the big reason, honestly, that I lost my career. And it's a weird situation. I'm not going to tell the whole story, but I lost everything. I went bankrupt. Like I literally, they repossessed my car at one point.
Yeah, I was about to make a joke when you said, 2008, you were managing hundreds of millions well, you were managing hundreds of millions. And then at the end of 2008.
I got to a point where if I didn't quit AIG, I was going to I couldn't sleep at night, the stuff that they were asking me to do. And I knew if I quit, I would be out of the industry because I had not disclosed my cannabis arrest. That's basically where I was. It was kind of effed. And if I hadn't got arrested for cannabis, my next job would have been a lot of money. I was. Yeah,
you were on a path.
Yeah, and it screwed me. It totally screwed me, but I did the right thing and I quit because I couldn't sleep at night. And I didn't know what was going to happen. They got the largest bailout in the history of the world and everything was fine, but I didn't know that was going to happen. And they were asking me to do some things I could not sleep, at night. So I quit and I lost everything, right? But during that period of time, I started working because basically no one would hire me, right? Everyone's looking at my resume saying, why are you applying for a low level job?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Well,
it's so
no background checks.
Play in the cannabis thing, or or
you leaned into it.
Yeah. So I'm doing stuff I got a bad back. I'm landscaping. I'm working for a company like Grubhub. I think Grubhub actually bought this company. It's a local company delivering food.
Yep.
And they were totally screwing us. And that's how I actually did meet Charlie. Someone asked me recently on a show if I ever met Charlie Baker, and I said no, because I never met him in the politics place, but I did meet him delivering food. And as a perfect example, I several times delivered thousands of dollars of food to Charlie Baker's office in Cambridge, where his company would tip me $1, $2, up a flight of stairs. I mean, and one day I actually met him. He was the nicest guy. And I really wish I had spit in his food because it's you're so incompetent that you're doing this to me. You're ripping me off. And, and the company was ripping us off, obviously, that we were working for. And the Department of Labor came in and they said, we want to talk to some of you. Anyone want to talk to you? I raised my hand.
Yeah. Right
put
here.
In there. And we all got checks. And that was Barack Obama, the Department of Labor.
Yep.
And if you look at what's been going on for the last 4 years, the Department of Labor ain't getting anyone any checks. Uber is getting away with mass murder, and as far as I'm concerned, are ripping off workers. Mm-hmm. And that money that I got changed my world. It was such a small. I look at it now. It's it's nothing to me. I bought a business. I'm back on my feet. I had to. Right. I was 2 jobs away from even getting even at that point.
It doesn't take much to put you on top, though.
Yeah.
That's the poverty finance hole.
So when we talk about him having Cesar Chavez there, I'm like, damn right, because the Democrats actually care about workers. They're not going to let people work these gig jobs where they lose money and get ripped off by companies that are making millions of dollars off of the backs of people who can't find work otherwise. It's just not right.
Okay. I don't 100% agree with you, obviously.
What don't you agree with on that?
Well, I agree that they talk a big game about caring more about workers. I agree that they signal a lot about caring about workers. But then I also agree that every time they try and put a strong pro-worker, pro-working class bill through, they allow the Republicans to water it down to a level that doesn't deliver.
That's where I disagree again, though, because we're talking about executive power. Yes. Executive power is not just bills. The executive power has nothing to do with bills. Maybe they can set the agenda, they could sign a bill, but the Congress has to act. And that's been the big dysfunction, whether it was Trump or Obama in office for the last 12 years, it's been Congress that's been dysfunctional. And, whether it was Trump or Obama, and hopefully Biden can change that. Hopefully he's a little better in working with Congress. But I'm talking about what can a president actually do? it comes down to their all their cabinets, all their Department of Labor, Department of this, Department of that, what they actually do. When they walk into Uber and say, you better start paying your employees or we're going to take you to court and we're going to fine your ass and you're going to have to pay your workers anyways, Uber either has to do it or they don't. And when they don't do it, they get fined. And this wasn't going on under Trump. So I think, yeah, like I hope there's a big focus on labor. I hope there's a big focus on getting people paid better wages, better health care, and highlighting it, because there are companies that do pay well. There are companies that care. Like, I am not anti-business. I love business. I own a business. I own 2 businesses. You know, I have my media stuff, my podcast, my writing, and then I basically have a dog care business. Like, I'm all about business.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so my issue is this, that the Democrats talk a big game and rarely deliver at the level they talk. And that's because they let the Republicans walk all over them. When you talk about the dysfunction in our Congress, it's, to me, when I'm looking at this, I see Republicans willing to do whatever it fucking takes to get their stuff through, and I see Democrats wanting to work with Republicans to make sure we're all happy here when stuff gets through. And that little difference is why we're heading in the wrong direction.
I think a big part of it. I agree with you on that, and I think that a lot of that again is the system, the way it's set up. Because what you really have is, you know, for the most part, Republicans are almost all, traditionally lately, anyways. They looks like they're going to split now, which is very interesting, because now, for the first time ever in a long time, Democrats seem more unified than they've ever been. You don't see the split that it used to be, and the Republicans are the ones who are really splitting. But for the recent past, the Republicans always were kind of the same. And the problem with the Democrats, I feel like, is there's a big difference between an AOC who runs in New York and some Texas Democrat that just barely won, you know, or someone from Missouri that's a Democrat, or North Carolina, or wherever they're from, even in parts of California. Yeah, there's a lot of congressional seats
between Beto and AOC. They are completely different
districts. You know, and you notice that someone like Beto, whoever, is going to get more to the left when they run for national office. Gee, I wonder why. It's because they're not confined by their district. You know, when you're a representative in Congress, you have to represent the district. And there's been a lot of gerrymandering. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of unfairness in the system that tilts towards the Republicans. But I feel like
that's because they've got the balls to force things through, and they will argue. And they won't argue from a position of truth or caring whether they're hypocrites. And the Democrats will, and so they will give in to the Republicans way more than the Republicans will. And that has always bothered me so much, because both sides are lying to us on almost everything they say, because they're politicians and they have donors that they actually represent.
That's the part that drives me more. I don't care that they negotiate so much, because I understand the issues. But the issue that bothers me on the Democrats in the past, especially, is the money situation. So often they've been a corporate party. They've gone and done things for corporate money.
Corporate party. The centrists and the elitists are at the top. I mean,
that to me is the big ding against all these parties, you know?
Yeah, and for that we need tons of election reform and tons of other, you know, related reform, like term limits on Congress, and making it more expensive for these corporations to buy people in office by giving them way more people to buy. Let's go term limits. You know, and 50 other changes. You know, I wanna read something, because this, well, 2 things. Today I was watching the inauguration, and I used VidGrid, which I linked to in a tweet. I love VidGrid. It lets you pull up 4 streams at once and watch them on one screen really simply, just like point, click, boom. And so I had CBS, PBS NewsHour, ABC, and then the actual direct feed, the government feed, the C-SPAN's feed. And I was watching them all, and they all had different cameras with almost the same view. But they were all pointed kind of at the center stage. And every now and then you would see different shots on the 4, and they would, you know, be in different places. And then Biden gets to his part of the speech where he says that people are making it impossible to unify, and where he talks about the people in government who are working against unity. And literally, I mean, and this was amazing to me. The second he said it, all 4 streams, including C-SPAN, put their camera on Mitch McConnell's face. And then went back to Biden after a second of showing you Mitch McConnell. And I was like, you know what? That's a form of unity that I can get behind.
I'm down for it.
I thought that was hilarious.
You know, that's good producing. Because you know what? I mean, for people who probably think at home, I mean, they generally the TV networks get the script, they get the speech before an hour or two before they go live, so they know could they read it and say, oh, we got to make sure we get Mitch McConnell at this point, and they all knew it. They all did the same call.
It was brilliant. It was brilliant. I mean, it was the obvious call, and I'm so glad they did it. Like, it was amazing. But then, you know, about an hour after the speech was over, he was already in the Oval Office, and he's starting to sign the EOs. On Fox News, Chris Wallace signals basically where he is on trying to get unity through here, right? And I found this one interesting because, again, Chris Wallace is, you know, your typical Fox News host, so he's going to do what it takes for his career and fuck the truth, right? But he said this to the audience and didn't get cut off, didn't get, you know, nothing. He said, and I quote, "I have been listening to these inaugural addresses since 1961, John F. Kennedy's Ask Not speech. I thought this was the best inaugural address I have ever heard." End quote. And that was live on Fox News. And that was like 10 minutes after he had done another thing where one of the guests on the show had said, well, the first thing he's doing is sitting down and signing a bunch of executive orders. What does that say about Biden? And Wallace looked right at her and said, well, it says he won. And then they go to commercial. And I'm like, you know, all right. He is trying to put himself, you know, in a position where he can argue that he's for unity. And it's fun to watch the people on the right now dancing their way into a new position.
I think it's called bad ratings. I mean, Fox has been number one for how many years? And just recently, since this failed coup attempt on the January 6th,
right?
Their ratings have just gone down overnight. Like the CNN and MSNBC are killing them for the first time in like ever. Like all the CNN people are like announcing like raises and promotions. Like it's like we finally won. Like it's
they're also splitting. Like a lot of the Trump people are getting pissed off at Fox, who keeps saying that Biden won when channels like Newsmax and OAN are kind of pushing Stop the Steal.
Yep.
So, you know,
and then other Fox people, other Republicans are like, you hung with Trump too long. Like they're losing people on both sides of the Republican spectrum. You know,
they really are. Ugh. So I don't know. It'll be fun to watch the grifters on the right come up with their new plays. I want to see, you know, what all these people do as Q and all the other things start to die off. Because today, Ron Watkins.
I would say it was a Jim Watkins. I don't know.
Ron Watkins at Code Monkey Z, Jim Watkins' son, put out a message. Saying that Biden had won, that it was over, that we were moving on, that you know, like he was like, what? And I found that hilarious because it's not like he fears any conspiracy charges or anything for his role in pushing the Capitol insurrection, because he's in Japan. And while we do have, you know, proper extradition stuff set up with Japan, it's still near impossible to get them to extradite anyone. So, like, he's not fearing anything like that, so I'm wondering what his play is here, and I always find it interesting watching just to see how they're going to grift the idiots on the right.
I think you just nailed it, and like the grift, it's the money has dried up. Like, I seriously am of the belief that Trump and the Russians or whoever Saudi Arabia, they're paying these people. I'm convinced of it. There's some funding going on. I think it just dried up. I just think overnight the money's gone.
Well, we know they're paying them because, well, we don't know that they specifically are, but out of France, over $500,000 in Bitcoin was transferred to multiple right-wing groups, organizing either with Stop the Steal stuff or really pushing the narratives, like Daily Stormer, you know, Weave's outfit there. So we know that lots of money is being thrown at the people who are organizing this stuff, and maybe that's starting to dry up a little, and they're looking at what's next. It's going to be very interesting to see what they think is next.
And you know what I'm interested to see is how far these investigations go. The FBI, like, I mean, there's been new, like, every day. There's a couple days every day. Last 2 days, I mean, we've had, I think you're going to talk about this, right? Mark Sahady arrested, and then today Joe Biggs, I think you mentioned. It's just like every day there's new ones, but they're starting to like go up higher. Like they're starting to like, you could see them kind of building a case, and like you could see even how they're going to get them now, because like the Proud Boys, for instance, the Oath Keepers, the 3%ers, even some of the QAnon people. It's very easy to get you caught up if you're organized.
Well, you know,
It's one thing if you walk in. If it's one thing if you're a protester and you walk in and you trespass.
Right.
But if you have earpieces, if you come with an organized group, now that's a conspiracy. And that's what the feds are starting to, you can see what they're doing. Joe Biggs looking at conspiracy charges. And just because they're communicating with each other in an organized group, I mean, these guys are
video
screwed.
and audio of the Proud Boys specifically planning the stuff that they did there, and he was part of that. So absolutely, he's facing lots of charges. I would think conspiracy is one of the least of his worries.
Right.
You know, he's gonna be facing probably a minimum like 10 years in charges, whether he gets it or not. You know, who knows? Like, remember, I faced over 90, depending on how you read the charges.
State or federal? What were your case? State. Yours was federal? Wow.
Yeah. And like Bear Brown was facing 105.
I didn't know you actually faced federal. I thought it was like a local state. I didn't know it was that big of a deal.
Yeah, it was federal.
I didn't know you back then. I know about it, but yeah.
Yeah. Federal. I went to max. It was not fun.
And you beat all the charges?
No, I went to maximum security.
Oh, you did get convicted.
Spent 27 days.
How did
solitary.
I realize that you were actually convicted of shit? I didn't think you were.
Yeah, it sucked. Let me tell you, it wasn't fun.
Yeah, you don't tell that story enough, I don't think, because I've never heard you talk about it.
I don't talk about it unless it comes up. Like, if people want to talk about it, I don't have any problems with talking about it. It just it has to come up. Like I've said it so many times that it's just kind of like I assume knowledge at this point, But yeah, no. So I know what a lot of them are going to go through, and it ain't fun, and most of them deserve it. So. So let's talk about our local fash though, since we got there. Good transition. Mark Sahady and Susan Ayani, who we mentioned last time, were getting arrested. Are arrested. Suzanne got out. She gets to await her next hearing from home, but Sahady did not. He was denied bail as the government claimed that he was an imminent threat. I love that personally. This person has been organizing fascists and local Q idiots and everyone else related to all of this nonsense for years here in Boston and around the world in a way, because a lot of people came to that Straight Pride parade.
That's right.
We had people like Milo come and walk out front with his cane that he was twirling around and whatnot. So he is gone, and I've got another photo for you all. We are going to drop this one and show you my new favorite picture of Mark Sahady. This is Mark Sahady's mugshot. He does not look all there. It looks like they arrested him when he was drunk or something, doesn't it? I mean, look at that face. He can't even keep his eyes open.
I wonder if they picked him up at like 3 a.m. or something.
That's the mugshot. So there we go. That's good old Sahady. He is gone. Now, I find it funny looking at all of the loud other far-right people here in the Boston area and how little they are talking.
Sampson hasn't said a word in a couple days. What happened?
He's posted a couple pictures.
He did? Yeah.
Like
4 days ago, the communist thing? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's
like, you're going to post the Russian communist thing after you supported Trump. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
Isn't that like so ironic? I mean, I don't even think it dawns on him. It's like, how dense can you be? Go ahead.
That dense. Specifically that dense. That's how dense you can be. Yeah.
I mean, I wonder if he really buys the bullshit. Like, is Sampson that dense? Like, I don't get it because he goes to law school, but like he really sticks
Anyone
to like.
Who can pay for that school can go to that school. That is not Harvard Law. You don't have to get in.
Yeah, but don't you think you kind of have to? I don't know. It's like, I don't know. I don't get, because I really believe he believes the BS that he posts. But again, I see him lie a lot. I don't know. Maybe I'm giving him too much benefit of the doubt.
I think he believes it, honestly. I do. I didn't at first. Going way back, like I really thought when he first started being around them, he was off to the side, and he did a good job of keeping basic distance from the people like the Sahadys.
Right.
Not total distance, but like he was like 5 feet to the left of them, just standing over there, not with. And but he was at every event still, and he was kind of helping. He would, get up there where the mics were and all that. But then that event happened down in Rhode Island where he got hit in the head with a bike lock.
Yeah,
and
which is awful. I mean,
within like
I don't support
that. He was organizing their events. He was on top of it. He was in control and working hand in hand with these people. And I think he was close enough to that edge, but he didn't necessarily believe all the bullshit that he now believes. But that helped, like, finish the job of him, becoming far alt-right bastard.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because people like, you punch a Nazi.
It is always Punch a Nazi Day. Always.
You support that. You don't really. Do you support that? Because I've never seen you punch a Nazi. You're around Nazis. You don't punch them.
They've punched me many times. I have fought back multiple times.
Well, fighting back is different.
I support Punch a Nazi Day. Every day is Punch a Nazi Day. We say it on the stream every single
episode.
I
don't go that way. I don't know. I mean, I get the philosophy. I get why people say that because they want to kill us. Like, I get it. But I just wonder, I don't know. The
paradox of tolerance isn't just about speech.
I know. I get it. I mean, it's like the, Hitler thing. Like, would you kill Hitler if you, had the opportunity? Obviously you would if you were going to save a lot of people. But, punch a Nazi, I don't know. I just, I guess I'm more like,
more pacifist than that?
Nonviolent, and I'm afraid I'm going to kill somebody, honestly. Like I wrestled, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
It didn't take much to hurt someone badly, and then I feel bad. Like, it's even though they're Nazi, then I'm feeling bad for a Nazi.
No, I wouldn't.
Well,
that's not me. I feel bad for pretty much anyone but them. I feel bad for some family members, like Mark Sahady here in our town, right? His parents aren't better than him, but his brother hates him and everything he's done, and his brother seems to be at least decent. I don't know if he's, on, like, good, but he's decent, right? And so I might feel bad for his brother maybe being upset that something happened to his brother.
Yeah,
but that's as far as I go. Like, Sahady, I have no love for. Yeah. Mark can get hit by a bus for all I care.
I mean, I get it. I get it, too. I mean, I totally feel it. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because obvious,
Right.
But again, like that would probably be where I'd be at too. Is like, there could be kids, there could be family. Like, it's just, I don't like violence, especially if it can be avoided. I get that it's hard to avoid violence when Nazis are in your neighborhood. I get it.
Yeah, and when you put yourself out on the front line because someone has to,
right.
It's
kind of my white privilege to say I don't like it too. So I'm gonna
exactly.
I gotta admit that too. Like, I guess sometimes I'm like I'm on all sides sometimes, and that sounds bad in this environment because you think like, the fascist side. I'm never with the fascists. I'm never with the Nazis ever. Yeah. That's not the sides I'm talking about.
Nope.
But just on, in most things in life, there's, both sides. It's like there are two sides a lot of times to things. It's, the paradox of life, I guess, right?
The both sides arguments, depending on where it's used. Like, I will say there are both sides arguments on whether to have broccoli. I will not agree that there are good both sides arguments when it comes to a lot of the political stuff.
I would agree on that,
especially not the fascist stuff.
I agree with that. But I'll give you an example, like the fracking issue.
Yeah.
Like, I am totally an environmentalist.
Yeah.
Like, I think that we need to clean up things big time. And I know fracking is something that I don't like, but you get rid of it, especially if you do it too quickly. There's a lot of jobs involved there, a lot of money, especially for America, especially for the United States. We basically 50% or even more of our oil. That's why the issue that has what I said, like two legitimate sides. Like, there are the actual. That's what I'm saying, and I'm not talking about the Nazi issue. There is no two sides when you're talking about Nazis. And
Right.
and most, like, I write, I cover things with my show. Usually there aren't two sides. So many of the stories that I write about, I'm writing about patients, medical patients, or employees who are being abused. I don't give a shit what the cops think. I don't give a shit what the employer says. Half the time I don't even call them or quote on them.
Yep.
And when I do, they usually don't answer, or they give me bullshit. So it's like, I hear usually there isn't, like, worthy two sides on a lot of things, but on some things there are.
On some things. And, you talk about the environmental stuff. And so today, with Biden's new executive orders, one of the first ones he put in was rejoining the Paris Climate Accord. I believe that was the third one he actually put through, after the mask mandate on federal land and rejoining the WHO. But the rejoining of the Paris Climate Accord was the third EO he signed, the third thing he did in office. And I find that good, but not enough yet. I want a hell of a lot more. The entire Green New Deal, thank you very much. Which will generate jobs.
That's what I love about it. I think that, when we get ahead, it's so obvious. Like, we've been ahead, America. That's what our, the technology, look at that. The first mover advantage. This is new stuff. Like, let's be first mover. We'll have the jobs forever. So it's like going to the moon. It's like, we can do this. It's the same thing with COVID. We should be backing up the truck to be number one in it. Like, not number one in cases, but number one in having the new biotech technology and all this new stuff, because there's a lot of big changes happening in all of this technology.
There really is. And we'll have to see what he does on the technology side of things. But one technology thing today that was, yay, was amazing. I'm going to show the audience another image. Because, that one's funny. And we love this one. And I'll leave that there for a second because, come on. But this one. This image right here makes me so happy. So happy. Ajit Pai was another one of those pieces of shit who's part of the revolving door problem, who goes up and takes big government offices after working at the big telecommunications companies, and then does everything he can to give them as much money as possible, remove as much regulation as possible, leaves the job, and goes right back to work for those same telecommunications
revolving
companies.
Door. Yeah.
It is a revolving door, and he is one of the worst, most amazing examples of it that we've had in a very long time. And now, he's gone. He, on his personal one, which is at Ajit Pai without the FCC on the end, he gave a going away message, and everyone is roasting him in the thread. He was an absolutely horrible human being who did everything he could to destroy, our net neutrality, to destroy the way the internet works, to destroy all of our free speech online. Everything he could do to empower Comcast and Verizon, basically, he did. And now he's going back to work for them. And this is another piece of the puzzle that needs to get solved through, laws literally stopping them from actually having this revolving door.
Yeah, especially if you're getting a pension, you should have at least like 5 years. You got to wait.
Yeah.
It's crazy the way that they do it. And, when I worked at AIG, remember when I talked about AIG earlier? I had a 1 year anti-compete clause.
Yeah.
And that was another thing that actually, led to my financial ruin, by the way. But,
and now those aren't enforceable.
Yeah, they aren't in Massachusetts. But why not the federal government do something like that, though? Like, because these jobs, they're getting a lot of money. Like, and I'm not talking about just the average government worker. I don't give a shit about them. We're talking about heads of agencies.
I give a shit about them, just not with this. This isn't the.
That's
not the conversation we're having.
Thank you for finishing that. It's thought. But you hear where I'm going. On this, it's only that it's the people with the budgeting power, the rulemaking, the regulating power, the heads of the agencies. Like, they should be held to account. Same people with Congress. They shouldn't just get to flip their job a year later and make major money off of, it's wrong.
No, so I would like to update you, Mike, and chat as to the state of things right now. Let me make sure I understand the state of things. Okay, so I have monitors. The only software still running on my computer right now is OBS. Everything else crashed but OBS, which is a first because OBS is usually the first thing to crash. I have no idea what just happened, but it seems like we're still streaming. So we're just going to ride this one out and hope it doesn't go next. But it looks like I might need a reboot.
Oh, boy.
But anyway, yeah, lock the door. Like literally, even iMessage crashed. Like there is nothing left running but OBS somehow. So hey, I guess it just wanted to give all of its power to the stream. So there we go. So yeah, so if it cuts out, I'll be back. But I don't think it's going to. It seems to be holding up fine. Yeah. So chat. Now that you know everything's a bit spooky on my computer here, what do you guys want to talk about tonight? What do we got going on in the chat there? Yes, the both sides argument is really about which side you want to punch them on. Which chin gets
the Nazi one?
Yeah. That's the only valid both sides argument. Which one of the two sides do they get hit on?
I'd prefer to wrestle him, I guess. I don't know.
You know, I mean, that's just
I'll box him.
My problem with the wrestling is with my hurt knee, I can't get any locks.
Yeah, actually, I shouldn't say that. I got a bad back, bad knees. I'll hurt myself.
All right, chat, come on. Give us something. Give us some topics. Yeah, so the mask mandate that he passed was on federal grounds. So anyone working in a federal office or a federal park, any federal land.
Does that include U.S. Congress?
It does. And the mask mandate is for masks and social distancing on all federal grounds, which includes everything from the parks up to office buildings.
Will they arrest Congress people who don't wear masks?
I think we'll find out. Let's, Gonna
be interesting.
Let's see, what do we got here? Well, so part of the Green New Deal stuff that's really interesting is the refocus on renewable energy. So one of the things that it offers as a part of the plan is job retraining. So taking people who work in everything from fracking all the way to like coal and retraining them to work in wind and solar and all these other new places, which have a lower cost now in terms of generation in most of the country. So they are the better option at this point, which is why we see companies like Shell and Exxon now talking about them publicly as an option because now they are actually profitable.
Oh, they're doing it. A lot of these big companies are doing it. They're a portion of their money is coming from windmills and solar.
Years late, of course, 30 or so, 40 maybe, depending on.
It's funny. It's funny because I trade a lot in the stocks, and it's like the Tesla thing, like. GM or whatever, GM just actually popped this week because of, some news about, partnerships. But, basically the electric vehicle, they all have one, but because Tesla is just a straight electric vehicle play and number one at it, their stock pops the most. And that's the way the renewable energy's been, it's like they don't have enough of their debt in renewable energy to pop like the renewable energy companies do.
So, so I think a lot of the jobs are going to be coming, from retraining. But those programs aren't going to just be open to people who are already in the industry. They're just going to get precedence, kind of like, frontline people got precedence for the vaccine. It's the idea that we'll get more motion towards the Green New Deal that we need if we can get those people on board with it and cut out their pushback by saying we're going to get you higher paying jobs and new training so you're not left as a relic of the past.
That's right.
So I'm here for that. I'm all for jobs programs. I mean,
I love
let's
them.
go.
I love them. I mean, my girlfriend's son has been basically for the last, several years since he graduated college, he's paid his bills two ways. Professional musician touring the world, hardcore band, and also especially in the bar restaurant industry, booking shows and bartending, and so that's been his full gig. And you know what happened there? So
they all closed down.
And so what he just did is he went to basically a government program, to teach people how to get into tech. It's specifically, Amazon Web Services, Google Web Services, and other training programs and testing certificates. And, he just landed, 2 offers. So this is
they work.
Yeah. A lot of people
training programs work
right now struggling who are out of a job or out of a field. If you're collecting right now, that's what you should be looking at, is like certificate programs. I look at that. Like, he was thinking about going back to school for his master's, and I was like, no more
go
debt,
vocational, man. That's where the work is right now.
And as soon as he brought the certificate up, and it was on top of it, not just, they're going to get you a job and it's only this long, and
it was all free because the industry's subsidizing it. They need the workers. So like Amanda said in the chat, like, they are hurting for workers. They are subsidizing training to get people to be able to do this work. So,
and and it's so funny because this kid's going to be so good at it because he's got the personality, the work ethic, and he's really smart. Like he's driven. Like, he's already like,
yeah.
I'm just like, dude, you're going to make it, because most of the people in that industry, they may have the skills, but then I was kind of in that industry a little bit, and I saw it, and there was a lot of fighting in the office. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
People have personality issues in the tech industry, almost like cannabis.
They do.
So if you can get along with people,
I usually work it out, but yeah. So in the chat, there's a bunch here. So let's stay on this topic before we move to another one.
Yes.
So, one, the re-education camps. They will open after Biden's first term is done. He's going to lull us into this sense of safety and security before Kamala gives us the camps. Obviously, right?
No. The re-education camps have already started. You've already enrolled yourself. It was called QAnon.
Yes. Well,
you're already enrolled. You self-enrolled. They've already selected you. They've been spending millions of dollars to re-educate you, and it worked magnificent. It worked so awesome that you alienated your friends, you alienated your work, your coworkers, you alienated your family. You look crazy. You probably, lost. That's the re-education.
All the videos of them crying today and screaming that, but today was supposed to be the day, and where's the storm? I've just been eating that stuff up. I'm just like, you did this to yourselves. I realize that they preyed on a group of people who weren't intelligent enough to avoid this with tactics and psychology that are just targeted at that level of intelligence. But like,
see, I don't want to go to intelligence, even though I probably joke about it all the time.
If you've ever talked to these Q people, they have no critical thinking. These people are morons.
But most of them. It's like it's like calling every fish head or a dead head, slow or whatever.
Yeah, they're either stupid, so they're being used, or they're the grifters.
And that's the thing, because I feel like I fell down a rabbit hole. Like, not the QAnon, but a lot of the same type of material. And I feel like that was the early models of it. The whole Alex Jones thing going back to 1990, whatever. That's when I was like thinking every conspiracy theory. I was, and I feel like people, and it's funny. It's like when a lot of this stuff got to me was when I was talking about my bankruptcy and all the bads. My whole life went down in every single way, and I don't think it was the conspiracy theories that did that to me.
No,
I think that was when it got exactly. You get the opening. So sometimes people are just going through tough times. Like, one of my family friends, all of a sudden one day they knocked on her door, the Jehovah Witnesses, and next thing you know, she's a full Jehovah. And guess when that happened? When they knocked on her door, right after she lost like the most important person in her life, like her anchor. That's when it gets you sometimes. Sometimes when you've had the worst tragedy or the worst setback, and so I still have like sympathy. I feel like some of these people can be brought back. Some of them are actually sane people.
I don't think we're going to bring them back with logic.
Well, not logic.
We talked about this in the last 2 episodes, and I think you were close to it there. But what I want to stress, because I think this can come up every time this is talked about, is my personal thoughts on this are that you're not going to logic these people back and you're not going to reason them back. What you've got to do instead is like you were talking about with these people's kind of stability in their life being shook, and that being the right time for things like Q to really attach to them, or, even certain, religious cults. And at that point, they're not stable, they're not thinking straight, there's tons of stressors in their life. It's a perfect time, right? So instead of fighting them with logic, with critical thinking, with all these things that they obviously aren't using right now because they're believing this Q nonsense. You fight them with stability. If we can get UBI, Medicare for All, and things like that through, you're going to see a lot more of these rural and even lower middle class area people who would normally be out there on the front lines at these Q things holding a Trump flag, staying at home because they're suddenly not so stressed out about things. And I think that is the key to getting that 74 million down to like 20 million. That is.
I question that now. You know, I used to be all on board with what you just said, but like when we looked at that crowd of Trumpers, especially when you start to look at some of the Biblar, you know, who they are.
Yeah,
they're not the guy. Some of them are, like, you know, maybe QAnon guy is, you know, shaman guy, but
yeah,
they're not the guy checking out the groceries. They're not the low wage worker. They're the boss. They're the guy who's running the grocery store.
There were a lot of those there, but there were a
You know
lot
what I
of
mean?
the low end guys too.
You know what I mean, though?
Their numbers are huge. We don't have 74
like there were a lot
million
of people who were doing really well off. People who flew in on private jets who were real estate agents. You know what I mean?
Course,
like,
of course.
It just seemed like to me sometimes we think it's because I think it's more spiritual. I do. I think that it's about they're missing a purpose. Like for me, I think that was my big thing. For my life, I had I think a lot of the things that happened to me is experience.
Yeah.
When Obama got me that check, that made a big difference to me. That kind of like I was like,
that's what I'm talking about, right
like,
there.
Those are
my
life
argument.
experiences that kind of wake you up. Number one, so it's not about like what you said. I think you're right on. You're not going to convince someone with logic generally, but maybe a life experience could change them. And like if they know, like, you know, if you're believing in this cult, and all of a sudden they target your restaurant, and you know these people, and you know that it's all bullshit. You know, like I think that is how kind of people get pulled out sometimes. And I think that's kind of what happened to me is like I started looking at reality and saying, wait a minute, that doesn't make sense. You know, maybe I'm an outlier because I you
found your way out. But that's what I'm saying. You brought up the check again. And, you know, I think that like UBI, let's use that as an example. Once that stuff starts happening under the more progressive side of things, that will make their, as said in the chat, that will make their lives better. And I think that the only way to teach these people that progressive ideals actually work is to force it down their throat and then have them sit there long enough realizing that they're no longer stressing out about the bills this month because they're covered. They're no longer stressing out about work because they get to kind of do the work they want to do. And then they're no longer stressing out about the healthcare bills.
So that's the spiritual part. I think Medicare for All, UBI, both of those things would help people enormously because then they could do what they actually want to do. I think so much of the problem in society is that so many of us are doing jobs that we don't want to do, but we have to do them to pay the bills, to keep our kids on healthcare. So you give people the freedom, whether it's like hosting shows like we do, chasing our activism, doing our writing, or you give them the ability to, you know, do their artwork, their photography, start a small business, whatever you want to do. You want to do a dog rescue, you know, you're able to do those things when everything else is covered. And I think that is what would make the biggest difference for so many people. I think that's
and the problem I have with that is that all the right wingers that we would be able to convince that way are very against the progressive ideas that would get them there.
I know.
We've got to get past that.
I just asked them, do you hate the post office? I know that, and they'll come back, well, the post office isn't really socialized. They run on their own. I'm like, okay, what about Social Security? Do you hate Social Security? Do you want to take it away? And most people are like, no, I like Social Security. It's like, well, that's socialism. And for me, that's like, I always say, like, let's look at the specific example and issue. Not everything should be socialized. You know, like, just like not everything should be legalized. You know, I'm all about cannabis. I'm all about freedom for a lot of plants and things, but there's limits. And it, you know, it comes down to the question. I don't think murder should be legal.
Oh, right? Yeah.
Everyone agrees.
All of that, so definitely. I'm talking about
this is where I try to break things down for people and say, you know, let's stop talking about these big platitudes like communism, socialism. We want to label everything. You're either against us or you're with us.
Yeah.
Well, so many times these same people, I'll go through these issues. Where are you on cannabis? Where are you on Social Security? And then we agree on a couple of them. They're like, you sound like a goddamn socialist.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at someone who's a Trumper. So it's like, I think a lot of times we all need to talk about the specific issues. And I think that's the way socialism wins and the left wins, because they're right on these issues. That's why a centrist like me, who really gets policy wonking in them, I've gone left because they make more sense. Income inequality, everyone agrees. Racism, I mean, these things are being borne out every day.
Don't agree.
Well, the people who are using their head, the people who look into things, the people who actually read, the people that don't come with preconceived notions, the people who aren't totally, in a cult.
Yep.
You're going to come to the same conclusion. Like, racism is wrong, and it is rising. There is a race issue in America. It has been for a long time, and this year proved it even more.
I mean,
yeah.
Since the very beginning.
But I'm talking about modern times, because we can go back, people can argue about history. We all know it was there. But let's talk about, our modern times, because so many times
system is racist.
Racism is gone. No, racism is worse. I think it's worse today than it was 20 years ago. And I know we've had improvements. Well,
I think it's worse today because
policies.
People are no longer hiding who they are, no longer trying to stay in the dark when they're racist. Like, they, in the last 4 years, have felt empowered to be racist in public.
That's right.
And it's a little different show than when we know they're all there, but they're trying their best to hide it, versus when they're doing it right on the street and then uploading video of themselves doing it. Like, it's always been there. We're getting to see a lot more of it lately due to how simple it is for all these videos to be made.
And it's this victim, it's so funny. They always say the liberals are like the victims, the victim culture or whatever.
Which is the exact opposite, because the other side is nothing but victim complex.
Like, I'm a white guy. I've never been a victim of racism.
No.
Like, honestly. Hey, well, I've been the beneficiary of racism.
Yeah.
And people will say, what does that mean? How do you mean? I run a dog walking business. When I walk into an older woman's house who's usually white with money, guess what? They automatically trust me. If my skin was dark, they would. And this is the reality. Not all of them, obviously, and I'm not saying that none of them would ever, be nice to a black man, but it would be harder. It would be a much harder job to do, and that's almost in any profession. I've
talked about this with my treatment from law enforcement, with my treatment throughout my felony, throughout my prison, throughout the other side of it, getting work, like. I know how much worse it would have been for me, because I was in with a bunch of people who got it worse, usually for less than I did. And it was very split along racial lines on who got the lightest treatment and who got really fucked. And so I've understood for a while what being a white male in America does for me. It doesn't keep me from, creating my own problems and making my own mistakes, but it kind of helps me get out of them a little easier.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps in situations like you just described. There are a lot of people who are racist, who will accept me even if I tell them they're wrong for being racist, just because I'm white.
I mean, they're black. This is how bad it is. Like, there are black people who trust white people more than black people. I mean, that is a thing. That is an actual thing. That's how messed up the racism is. So think about that. I mean, that is, and it just goes so deep. It's like
yeah, I'm sure. All right, how's it going, chat? And I hope we are back. I have no idea if we are.
We are. We are definitely back. Because I just started playing it. It's funny.
Okay, so I have not rebooted or anything. We've just restarted OBS because it still seems to be the only app that wants to work right now. So we'll go for a little bit longer. Next time it does that, we are going to just say, it's the show.
I've been there, Greg. You're doing really. I gotta say, you're a good host.
I love this stuff, man.
I get very flustered when this stuff happens on my show. That's why I'm on StreamYard, because StreamYard hosts everything on, through the app. It's so cool.
Yeah, whatever. I mean, I think at this point, like me in the chat and all the people who are always here, like, we've got a really good crowd here, and they're totally here for the ride. And if that happens, it happens. I've learned that. Like my first episode, I was like, "Oh no, things are going wrong."
No, that's exactly what you got to do as a host.
And now I'm just like, we're going with the flow. We'll get there.
Yeah, you got to.
So, in the chat, all kinds of fun stuff has been said that we didn't address yet. So let's see if I can scroll back or not after what happened. Would Green New Deal benefit a place like Puerto Rico? It would. There are some jobs that they would be creating down there. The bill itself, when you look at it, does actually outright have outlays for Puerto Rico. So that's interesting. I think it'd be great down there. Now, the other part of that question was about statehood for DC and Puerto Rico, and absolutely, they both deserve proper representation. They are currently living under our laws and don't have proper representation. Like, I'm not a big fan of the cops, but like at the same time, during the insurrection, more would have been available if DC had been a state to protect the Capitol building and keep people from trying to walk off with the speaker's podium. Because the governor would have had the power to put them out without waiting for the White House to, get in the way. So, like, just as an example of an argument that could be used, which I think would be successful, in their fight for statehood, one of the more successful arguments they could have for it, I think, is that, all these right-wingers who think, back the blue. Well, fine, if you back the blue, then give them some more power in D.C. by giving it statehood. Right. Although, also, I would like to state, following that whole big statement there, ACAB and defund the police, thank you very much. But still, that is a psychological argument from my point of view. It's something you can use as ammo to get the statehood that they deserve, because they deserve proper representation if they're going to live by our laws.
They have to. I don't get that, how you can, it's like the old thing, taxation without representation. They don't get to vote on any of this stuff. It's just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not on Comcast. I'm on Fios. I've got gig both directions. The issue is definitely not my bandwidth. It is
computer.
This computer is showing a little age.
That's the thing. Like I know this for a fact because I got a pretty new computer and I've been streaming, and it kills your computer. Like you really have to have a top computer to.
Well,
run
this
all
is
this
a
stuff.
beast of a machine, but like
it's getting old.
I mean, it's just, I'm feeling it. It's definitely. I mean, it's.
And then you gotta keep up on cleaning it up. Like that's what I never did. I had to delete a bunch of shit to get it to run faster. I don't know. You're probably a pro though, Greg. You probably store everything in the right places.
I do, and I clean up my downloads directory like every other day, and all of that.
Not me.
Yeah, but I mean, I've got 16 cores, 64 gigs of RAM. I mean, it's a decent machine. It's not bad. It's just something happened and everything crashed.
Live streaming.
Live streaming, baby. Yeah. Let's go.
Anything can go wrong.
So, so
this happens on CNN a lot. You see this lately? They crash all the time now. It's so funny.
Oh, my favorite thing on CNN the other day, I was, looking through some of the stuff, trying to find some answers to some things I wanted to talk about on the stream, and so I pull it up, and the guy's like, we can't get the graphic up, so someone walks over and sets a computer monitor in front of him, and he turns the computer monitor around, and then the camera zooms in on the monitor, and it's only like a 17-inch monitor, and that's what we're looking at, and I'm like, man, that is janky. That is like some...
That's something I would do like 10 years ago.
Yeah, like that was... that's not the quality I'm expecting TV from these corporate bastards.
Oh my God. It's like recording the TV with your phone. Oh, man.
Wow.
Oh, man. That's funny.
So I'm definitely all for statehood for them.
Definitely. I mean, it just makes... I think that obviously the Democrats want it, and the Republicans are going to resist it.
And let's see here. So, in the chat, Santon Homie made the the absolute most valid point, I think, for UBI. And that is that a lot of people work in jobs that they don't enjoy. Their lives are being wasted with the majority of their day, of their waking time, and their entire life being spent doing things that aren't making them happy. With the UBI, what that gives us is the ability to take not a lot, because, it's not going to be a lot of money. It's just going to be the bare necessities. But it's going to take that stress off where you can maybe start to spend a little extra time on what you want to do, get yourself, start a small business at home and spend that extra time that the UBI is buying you building a client base, and then slowly move to the point where you're no longer working for anyone else. It lets you find yourself. It lets you get to the point where you are doing things that you enjoy. And when we've looked at the other countries that have implemented this and tested this, especially a lot of the people like the Scandinavian countries, the one thing that we've seen is the argument from the right-wingers is always, well, they're just going to be lazy and stay at home and play video games.
Right.
And instead, it actually leads to way more innovation, way more inventions, way more, like, you can judge it by even
entrepreneurs.
The amount of patents.
Yeah, how many people start businesses?
Is gigantic.
Yeah. I think we should be looking at that for like healthcare too, like, because I think that's another, because I'm someone who was, most of my life have been employed. Now I'm self-employed. Like, the big difference and the big scare for me, obviously, is if I get hurt, disability, all those things, but also healthcare. That's in the fact I live in Massachusetts and we have Obamacare, it makes it much easier. So I think absolutely that's the way I think. And UBI, absolutely. Spiritually, like, we're talking about what's missing, the big problem, like the terrorism issue and the violence issue, and that's what solves it, allowing people to follow their dreams. Everyone has a hobby or a dream that they want to pursue.
Now, here's the big question. Here is where we get to the crux of the matter. The people in power have that power. They haven't lost it in a long time.
That's right, they do.
And they are holding on to it, and they aren't giving us any of it. And very few people get allowed in that are more like us, especially more like me over on the far left. And any major changes to how the country works that we would enjoy are not in their favor. They are in our favor. And so we've got to convince people in power to do things that help us. And if that thing doesn't help them hold on to power and instead changes the metrics for how they hold on to that power, will they give it to us? No, they never have. That's the thing. So, like, this division that we have in the country right now, the Republicans get voters because they're able to say, you hate the Democrats, right? And the Democrats get voters because they're able to say, you hate the Republicans, right? They get their donors that way. Oh, not the big corporate ones. They're just buying them to pass regulations and put riders on bills and whatnot. But the people on the ground, they're getting them by using the fear of don't let the other side come in. And if the people aren't really as riled up and don't really have a fear of the other side anymore, it takes away from their power. So I think that is going to be the problem that we have to overcome. Not that people all over the place don't, understand this thing. It's that they're going to push back because it's going to eat into their ability to hold on to power.
I agree with, pretty much all of that. I think that our greatest power is our numbers now. And I think I mentioned this earlier, that I was, the Gen X, working with the baby boomers and the World War II vets. The big change, all these younger people, all of these, folks of color with the experience and the diversity that we have in this country now. I feel like, even the tech companies, like all these corporations, we got to call them out. They were given to Republicans. Now they've stopped. Oh, great. Why were they given to Republicans in the first place? Because they want what's theirs, right? They need to, like, we the thing I really like about the new generation is they've changed business. They've changed the way that business is done. Corporations, for the first time, have to actually question if they're doing the right thing. And that doesn't mean the right thing in the past was just about the shareholders. Now they have to question, are they doing the right thing for the country? Are they doing the right thing for the world? Are they doing the right thing for the environment? Like, they really actually have, because the customers get mad.
But we're not
the customers
all the way
get
there
mad.
Yet.
No, we're not. But that's like, we're at the beginning of something. And I've really started to see this, like, we like, even like my own show, I look at it like,
Yeah.
when we first started, we were about all the issues. We were getting third party people, and that's it. They would never win an election. Then people started talking about our issues and actually winning elections as Democrats,
Right.
which is interesting
But
because
let's look at your argument about the kind of major sea change here, in that, companies now don't find themselves accountable to the people, but definitely are trying to please the people by, joining in the social discourse. And if you look at that,
and some people start corporations to do the right thing too.
Right.
Like, that's a new thing.
But look
like
at MyPillow.
Go ahead.
Look at MyPillow. All right, massive supporter of Trump, at all his events, on all his councils, talking from the White House on the microphone. This fool. The Kohl's, Bed Bath & Beyond, multiple other companies are now no longer selling MyPillow. But they waited until the week before Trump was removed from office to do it. So they felt a little of the pressure, because they don't all just instantly do this. They waited until Trump was not going to be in power anymore to then have a conscience. And so my problem with it is that they waited, right? That they could have done it at any time.
Right.
That we didn't need the insurrection to know that this guy was trash.
Oh, I agree. So
But
many of these corporations are still, and I think that we have long memories. Like, you can't take it back. Like, and I think that that's the thing that these corporations need to know. Like, when you're having to apologize later, it's almost too late.
Yeah, it really is. I mean,
And that's the future. I swear to God, I feel like the future, and I think a lot of it comes from your end, Greg, where you come from, the internet. I know the internet's brought a lot of shit to us, a lot of negative and the fake news and all that other crap, and I mean the real fake news, not the Trump fake news. I'm talking about the Alex Jones stuff. That's the real fake news. But it's also brought us, look at the FBI the last couple of weeks. They're getting all the help from the crowd. Like, the crowd figures out things. The crowd, you know what I mean? The crowd, I just feel like the crowdsourcing, it brings the good ideas up. It
does.
So I feel like there's a lot of things that we have going for us. I think that we're too apathetic and too negative at times.
Sure,
I really do.
I'm just never going to cheer the FBI getting anything done that isn't like at the serial killer level. Like, it's just not gonna get that out of me.
Well, for someone like me, I'm happy because I feel like they haven't done their job on it in a long time. Like,
sure,
there's been nothing going on.
There's a paper that I'm going to try and hunt down the person who worked on the paper, or someone near it, from the FBI from like 2006, where they talk about the threat of right-wingers and them infiltrating all that other. So I want to get them on and see if I can get them to talk about that, like, because it's interesting that they were seeing it all the way in 2006 and still haven't acted on it yet.
Well, I think they are
now. They're starting to, but it's after a literal insurrection was attempted, after a coup was attempted, it took that to get them to do anything. Mind blowing.
Yeah, that is mind blowing.
What is going on? Yeah, right, Christine. Like, my big issue here is that, like, I've seen a lot of lefties like just tagging at FBI on Twitter, and I'm like, dox the fuck out of people. That's fine, but like, that's no better than calling them. Don't do that.
This is a good discussion, because I was hoping we would have this discussion, because I'm torn. This is another one where I see both sides.
Damn straight, Thomas Joseph.
I mean, and I knew you'd be on that other side, Greg.
I
don't know. I feel like sometimes it's like, I come from the cannabis community, and you're not supposed to snitch ever. No snitching.
Right, but you're not going to give me the enemy of my enemy, because we know that fallacy.
What fallacy?
The enemy of my enemy is always still your enemy. Like, you don't work with the enemy.
I mean, I don't know. I'm torn on it. I really am.
At the same time, I'm laughing every time they get arrested, so I know I'm somewhere conflicted.
But for me,
inside.
I mean, it's not like I'm not tagging or contacting the FBI, because I feel like if I post something online, they're seeing it. Like, I really feel like they just watch our shit. I really do. I feel like, so I don't know. I feel like it doesn't really make a difference.
Again that they do.
Yeah. I mean, we know. I mean, I've gotten more confirmation in the last couple of weeks, especially since this stuff happened. It's just crazy. But I mean, even stuff we joke about, they laugh about. But I just feel like I don't know. I want to see these guys go to jail. Like I do. I feel like you know, I follow the Tupac and Biggie stuff, you know, like I love that. Like you talk about crime, you know, podcasts and all that stuff people are into. I love to try to figure out who done it. And I like both of them. If I knew who killed him or I witnessed it, I would testify. I would. Call me a snitch, call me whatever, call me working with the enemy. I don't know. If I see someone I like that gets hurt or murdered or beat, I'm gonna yeah, you know. So I guess I'm torn on that shit.
You know,
but I get what you're saying too.
I understand too. Your family member gets murdered. You talk against the murderer. I can get it.
And
but at the same time,
and there is another side. I get where you're coming from because I've seen a lot of people posting like, you know, if you give them the wrong information, it's going to be used against good people eventually because the FBI has done that a lot of times. They've done a lot of bad cases and stuff that they shouldn't be doing. You know, so I get it. You know, that's why I say both sides. Sometimes it's like
both sides is a loaded term these days.
I know. I'm using it tonight, which is weird.
You are all over that.
I'm stepping on it. I'm stepping on it. I am.
Chat. What do you think?
But I don't mean
this?
both sides that like Trump does. I'm not talking about that. There's no both sides to the Proud Boys. None of that. No.
Yeah. So I'm reading the chat there, and you're absolutely Thomas. I saw that video, and I'm like. They're getting a little taste of what we get all the time, right? But only a little because for the most part, the cops just kind of stood back and watched.
You know, it's like there was another point Rod made. I liked it. He was talking about don't call them traitors or terrorists or something, right?
Yeah.
Because it's used against the left later. It's not right. You know, it's going to be used against us.
Christine, that one is easy. They have to do parallel construction here, where you know, and that's this idea that they got the information they got on someone illegally from whatever way they got it. They need to have a source telling them that who that person is, right? So they'll show a photo that they probably already think they know who it is, but they don't want to give up how they got the name.
They want to put it on paper. So they want to reconstruct it.
So instead, they want you to tell them who it is, so they can then go to court and say that person told us.
It's like when
they don't out their methods.
It's like when I'm a reporter and I already know something as a fact. Maybe someone told me that, but they won't go on the record. So I try to find a second or third source that will confirm it and go on the record, even though I already know that's fact. You know what I mean? So it's the same idea.
Exactly. It's covering their own asses.
But you know, someone said snitches get stitches. Remember, folks. I'm not a snitch. Let's put it that way. I don't cooperate with police. I'm just saying.
No, you never have. I wouldn't claim that of you. You've been
There's
an activist.
There's no evidence of it. You'll never find it. But I mean, I'm generally, you know, the closest I've ever probably talked to police over the last couple of years is when I was protesting at Leo's house, and the cops came up to us and said, "We saw you. You're the organizer." And I said, "Yeah. What do you guys want to not harass us today? What can we do?" You know what I mean? That's about my involvement with police, talking to them at protests and making sure they're cool and we're cool. But you know, basically one of the things I liked about Rod was talking about the issue of whether you call someone a terrorist or I think a traitor.
Yeah, one word's a little more loaded than the other.
I think it's let's talk about the word traitor because I think that's the word he used. He doesn't like it because he feels like it will be used against the left, which is definitely a valid concern.
Yep.
But I feel like it's already been used against the left, number one. It's kind of like the N-word. You know, like black people, that word was used against them. And then they took it over as their own word, and they're the only ones allowed to say it now. And there's a power in that. And I feel like this is our opportunity to kind of throw it in their face and kind of use it like against them and say, how does it feel? Like, you know what I mean? And especially since these guys are actually real terrorists, like, you know, when a lot of times they call people terrorists who aren't terrorists. Well, these people are real friggin' terrorists. So if people want to use the word, then let's use the word. That's like kind of the two sides again I'm talking about. Where do you stand on that, Greg?
Well, I mean, I think one, they are domestic terrorists. Two, they are absolutely traitors to our country and our constitution. I believe they are treasonous and insurrectionists. I believe all of those words are fine to use. However, when using directly against another person by name, you've got to watch a little, because while we don't have strong libel and slander, stuff over here without you being a serious public figure or something, certain words and accusations are actionable, and so you've got to watch a little, how you word these things. I stick to domestic terrorist as the word I use, because that's something that I think I can fucking back up. So that's where I am with that. But I don't think the other words are off the table. I think they are true. I've just chosen, kind of my label for it at this point.
I like that. I've been asking people when they post crazy stuff, when did you decide to become a domestic terrorist? I think that's a good question to ask some of these knuckleheads on online.
What do we have over here? Oh, yeah, I mean, I call them nut jobs too. I mean, I specifically call them
we
nut
use
jobs.
that too.
Yeah, treason. That is Rick Glass is kind of on point there. I had this talk with a lawyer friend of mine, and treason's really hard to prosecute. It's like using the what do you call it? The entrapment defense. You can't use that defense, no matter how true your event might be. No matter how true you think you are when you say I was entrapped, it does not work. No matter how much evidence you put up there. There was a study in the late 90s where they went over entrapment cases for the last 60 years, and it's 1 out of every 26,000 times that comes up in court that it's successful. It's like, it is never successful. Treason is another one of those that is really, really, really hard to use in court. So you've got to come up with better ways to describe these people that can then be used against them in court, is kind of where I am with that. Even though I believe the word is correct, much like I believe a lot of entrapment happens.
I'm not when I'm talking about that, it's definitely not a legal definition. I know that.
Yeah, right, yeah. So
but I like what you said, domestic terrorists. That's pretty much what I've been calling them. And sometimes I call them a traitor.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it is traitorous. I mean, you're I think it's, and not just against the country even or the government. It's against humanity. Like,
yeah.
We had a record number of people vote in this last election. So
yeah.
For you to throw out all those votes, and especially when it turns out like 80% of black people that voted one way, and you want to throw all those votes out, you want to throw all the inner city votes out, like that is traitorous to just humanity, to humans. I mean, it just doesn't.
Yeah, it's just about the legal definition of the word.
Yeah, and when you talk
I think
about,
you're
like,
right, but I think
even,
in a legal definition sense, it's hard to use that word for those cases. You've got to apply the law the way it's written.
Yeah, I'm not trying to apply the law like it's written. I'm just talking about human language.
Oh,
like,
yeah, totally.
You're a traitor to humanity. I mean, that's what it feels like to me. It's like
insurrectionists.
Yeah, that's a good word too.
Yeah. So what else are we going to talk about, chat? We still got a little time here, right? You don't need to run away.
I want to talk about what's going to come next on the conspiracy charges. Because the FBI hasn't done anything about this Ali guy, about the Congress people, where the big money's coming. Because there was a bunch of groups. There's who's the other guy? Nick Fuentes. Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're building cases. They're going to go after Fuentes. They're going to go after all the Proud Boys.
They're going to go after a lot more people. One of the things that I think is happening right now is all the initial charges are meant to get people kind of into the system. And a lot of those people will only have those charges. But getting them in jail cells, getting charges against them, getting them talking is the start. And then you'll see... And we've seen this historically, they'll throw the little charge at you that gets you in the door, and then while they're holding you, they'll keep building the case because you opened your damn mouth, because humans are stupid, and
you tell your cellmate your whole life story. And the cellmate wants to reduce his charges.
Exactly.
He turns around and tells this
exactly, and then they throw the bigger charges at you, or they pull in 4 of the 5 of you required to get the conspiracy charge. And they're waiting for that 5th to come in, But they want to hold on to the 4 of you, so they hit you with the lower charges. And then once the 5th is actually in custody, okay, by the way, lawyers, here comes the conspiracy charge. So they play like that. There's a lot of gamesmanship in the way they do this. And for the most part, I hate it, and I think it's absolutely evil. The entire system is flawed. But, I find myself not as concerned for the Nazis.
No, yeah. This is what it should be used for, honestly.
Yeah, stop using it against the non-violence. Stop using it against the people fighting for equality and rights. Stop using it against the various, drug, wars. No. Use it against the Nazis. That I'm not going to have too much of an argument against.
I saw a question on the Cannabis Control Commission.
Yeah.
What's on the horizon for the next Cannabis Commission? There's been a couple of changes. Shalene Title's no longer there, so there's like 2 new commissioners now. They're basically, it's funny because they're implementing recreational delivery regulations that are going to allow a lot of the smaller players in the industry. They passed a bunch of regulations. They're about to implement them and allow these smaller businesses to open. But Big Cannabis, who all posted photos and quotes of Martin Luther King on Monday. On Tuesday, they sued, Big Cannabis did, their Commonwealth Dispensary Association in Massachusetts, to keep the little guy, to keep the smaller delivery guys, the people of color, black folks out of the industry because they want it first. They don't want to share. They got the stores first, and now they want the delivery first as well when it's been set aside for other folks who didn't get an initial opportunity. So it's really interesting. The cannabis space is a lot of fighting over turf.
Get richer.
That's right. But I think they may lose. I mean, what's really interesting over the last months of the Cannabis Control Commission is we started off way behind the people on this. We got, even with medical, like we lost our caregivers. Back in 2010, I was fighting for caregivers. They took it away, the DPH. Well, this year that got corrected a little bit. For the first time, the Cannabis Control Commission expanded the regs, made it a little easier to be an actual caregiver in Massachusetts, which allows smaller guys to actually, dabble and kind of start off smaller and help patients. And we also had the big wins on the delivery licenses against the big money. A lot of recent changes have been happening, and it's good for the smaller players. And how did that happen? The community got way involved, and they all started speaking out and showing up and demanding equity and demanding the changes to actually help smaller players, to help patients. And things have started to get better a little bit. But for the most part, Big Cannabis hasn't liked it. And they're really upset, and they're complaining to the governor. They're complaining to the state reps. And what do you know? The next thing you know, Shalene Tuttle isn't on the Cannabis Control Commission anymore. And she was the one kind of giving the voice to the entire community of advocates and actual human beings who aren't large corporations. Yeah. So there's kind of a big battle going on. I suggest everyone kind of get involved, informed on it, and stay up to date. You want to find out more information, you can definitely check out our website. It's midnightmass.substack.com. We post a lot of news stories there. You can just put your email and subscribe. We send out email updates on it. And our show too, the Young Jurks, we cover a lot of this stuff.
Yes, and Jurks with a U, Jurks.
That's right.
No sank misogyny here.
No, we're kind of riffing on them though, if you notice.
Yeah. Let's take a step back from that though, and realize some words that you've said, because we are not deep into the whole cannabis, marijuana, weed as a thing, and you're talking about big cannabis, right? Like big pharma, right. Which actually kind of, there's a lot of big pharma and big cannabis at this point. All the money stepped in when they realized it was going to get regulations that would allow them to get away with it. We now live in a world where big cannabis is a thing.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's huge. And, I mean, it's just, it is what it sounds like, it just.
I mean, I might be a teetotaler. I've never done any drugs, and I'm anti pretty much every single drug.
Let me ask you, have you drank beer before? You had a beer?
I've never even tasted alcohol. Not a
Oh,
single
wow.
type of alcohol. I won't let my food get cooked in alcohol.
Yeah.
I've done no drugs.
I'm trying to think of something that's similar, like that you might, notice a difference. Like maybe coffee. You've had coffee, right?
Never.
Never. Oh my
Not
God.
once in my life.
You're like a Mormon, for Christ's sake.
Not once in my life have I had coffee. The smell.
What about like a Tylenol? Not even.
Yes, I will take. I will take aspirin when I have to, but I try to avoid it as much as possible. I'm going to admit to you though, I do have a vice, and everyone in chat knows because they see it all day long. This is my vice. Pepsi. I will drink. I will allow myself 2 of those a day.
Big soda.
One of them I do during the show because I want the caffeine to keep me going. But I allow myself 2 of them a day if I have to. I don't always drink them both, but
right.
That is
beverage.
That is the one thing. Otherwise, it's water and lemonade. I love lemonade. No, I can't drink coffee. I have a lot of issues with a rare blood type, and then a lot of things that happened with scarlet fever when I was young that melted huge parts of my brain. So I've got all kinds of weird shit up here. And one of the things that happened was smell is way more important to me when it comes to food. And coffee is so damn strong, I can't get it within like a foot of my face without wanting to puke.
Wow. That's interesting.
I hate walking down the aisle that has coffee when I'm at the grocery store.
Because it's so strong.
Oh, yeah. I like avoid
Why the
that
rest
part.
of us love it. Yeah.
I will go down half of that aisle and then go around to grab something on the other end without walking by the coffee sometimes.
You must be one of those actual rare people with an actual issue against cannabis smell too, right?
Oh, the smell is disgusting.
Must drive you crazy. Yeah.
Oh, I hate it.
I love it.
Now,
it depends. I mean, it's kind of can get stale and stanky on someone when you smell it on them, but
I will remove lettuce from my salad, damn it.
Part of it I really like though. You walk them. I was walking a dog today in Salem, Massachusetts, and working. Doing my dog walking, and all of a sudden I looked up. Oh, someone's got the window open. Like, I'll be joining you in like an hour, buddy.
And at the same time, with all of this
beautiful
said,
smell.
I think Portugal did it right, and I think decriminalizing it all, putting all that money that you're using to criminalize it into support for people with addictive tendencies.
That's right.
Is the correct path forward. So I might be Mr. Teetotaler over here. I might never have done it and be very against all of it. And on a personal level, I think people should avoid them. But at the same time, I totally understand why people do it. I understand the addictive mind. I get it all. And I think instead we should legalize it all and work on treatment.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
I don't have I feel like I don't really like alcohol. Honestly, I feel like, but I'm not like negative. I'm not like, I would never say they should go out of business. They should not. Like it needs to be legal. Like even alcohol. And I think it's like the worst drug by far. Like that is, commonly used. I'm not comparing it to cocaine or heroin or whatever, but I think alcohol and tobacco are like by far, they kill the most people by far, but to make them illegal is like the worst thing you could do.
I mean, the cigarette companies were behind that, Doxy. They wanted to make sure that they kept making their money, and weed was going to get in the way of that.
Right. Yeah, weed is so less harmful than anything else that's out there. It's like you mentioned Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola is way more harmful than cannabis, in my opinion, by far.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen one of those videos where they show you if they leave pure Coke syrup or pure Pepsi syrup?
Right through everything.
And it eats right through the steel canister if they don't water it down? It is... Whew.
I once had a Diet Coke addiction, conniption thing going on. My mother used to always have them in the house. That was the only thing that we'd have for soda, so I'd always drink them.
That's how you have strokes.
After a while. I swear to God, I really, and then I looked it up on the internet. This was right when the internet was coming out. Thank God. I looked it up and saw. I was like, "Holy shit! This shit is so addictive, and it's so
everything they do to make it diet is worse for you than if you just didn't drink the diet one."
That's right. And so I'm like you. I like to have the sugar sodas, but I only have them like I treat it like I would a beer actually, because I'm not like, I like the taste of a beer. I just don't like to get drunk. I don't even, buzz is okay, but for me, I just try not to get buzzed at all. I have a bad reaction to alcohol generally, so I have like a 2-drink limit. I used to drink a lot when I was younger, but I have a strict two. That's like partying. If I have 2, that might be like once every 5 years now. You know, like I seriously, like even that.
Oh,
like,
come on!
usually
you.
Yeah, sometimes I'll, I'd say once every year or two, I'll have like 1 beer or 1 drink, and I like the taste of it, and that's it. That's all and I feel like the same thing with Coca-Cola. Like, I really enjoy like having a nice cold Coke, but I know what it does. Like, it literally, like, whether it's beer or Coke, it like makes me sick to my stomach after a while. It just like eats up my stomach. I do not have like the best stomach for things. And so that's like, I just know like those things are just really bad for you if you consume that all the time,
All right, everyone. I think that time has arrived.
Yeah, we're talking about sugar and beer.
Well, I mean, the time I'm talking about is the time where the final part of the crash happens.
Oh, really? It's crashed again?
I don't think you guys can see me on camera anymore, can you? I can't see me on camera anymore. I'm getting the error message.
Camera is dead, they're telling us, yeah. But apparently someone could see us because they're talking about I only drink ginger ale for soda. I don't know. They heard us. Somebody did.
Yeah.
But Greg is not visible, they're saying.
Yeah. I am trying to keep this system alive without having to go through all the reboot and reset up and everything else. But wow.
They can hear us, but they only could see me. That's so funny.
Okay, welcome to the Mike Cann show. Dance.
Now Lauren Pespiza splendid spoons in there. Just saying. What were you just saying? What was she? Mushrooms illegal in Somerville now. That's what she was just saying.
I am I back? I have no idea at this point if I'm back.
Don't know.
I am
you
back.
are back.
Look at that.
You are back.
This is, I need to replace this entire computer, so let's set this out there as the best time to be a capitalist. This machine needs work, and I got that much money. So subscribe. Everyone who can subscribe. That's how this works, right? You all don't know, but when I keep looking down typing, it's because for some reason it keeps asking me for my password to let the camera thing work again. And yeah, it's strange that that I'm even remotely here at this point. The whole system is in shambles. Yeah, good times.
Splendid Spoon said, "Stop taking mushrooms, Greg." He just said he never did drugs. She knows.
I have never.
I can't believe you haven't had coffee. That is like that's Mormon level. I worked with some Mormons, and
you brought up the who did you bring? The Jehovah's earlier. And I want to say something to chat just because it's on my mind, and I love, dropping like stupid random knowledge. But have you guys ever seen The Warriors? What a good movie, right? That was the movie my parents wouldn't let me watch when I was a kid. Remember it was on TV? Were you that age? Such a good movie, right?
It was on like ABC on like a Sunday night, and they were like, "You can't watch this. Go to bed." Like,
but you watch it and you see a version of New York that is, of course, no longer New York.
Right.
But and while there's a lot of fun with the gangs and the makeups and the costumes and all that, like the baseball furies,
the weird music,
but a gang riddled, graffitied up entirety of New York was kind of a thing. Like you could just see documentaries about how bad it had gotten. And during that time period, it wasn't just like the Lower East Side of freaking Manhattan like that. It was everything. It was Brooklyn. It was the Bronx. It was Queens. It was all bad. And in Brooklyn, property was worth basically nothing. You couldn't sell a building to save your life. So the Jehovah's Witnesses took up a bunch of donations from their people and went and bought a ton of Brooklyn real estate. So they owned like an appreciable percentage of Brooklyn when it started to get valuable over the last like 15 years, and it started to all become loft housing and everything else. So their investments from the late 70s, early 80s of like a few $1 million are worth hundreds and hundreds of millions and billions these days. And they've been selling off property now for the last like 5 years or so. And the Jehovah's Witnesses have a war chest that is closing in on Scientology's because they're selling Brooklyn property. And that's just a random thing to know, but it's like crazy. Like that's where the cult is getting its money now.
Now the Jehovah's, like, I don't know much about them. I just remember, our friend of the family, she kind of flipped out at that point. But they are very cult-like, aren't they?
Oh yeah, they're absolutely a cult. But I mean,
different. There's all different levels of cults and religions. Take that with a grain of salt
from me. I'm gonna say, because me and you have never really talked about this, but I as I've said to chat many times, I'm not just like an atheist. I'm a devout atheist, and I realize the irony in saying that. But I am pure science, 100% natural selection, evolution.
What about
give me the Big Bang? No spirituality. There is no God. Nothing. Period.
Isn't science though pointing more to like maybe something like?
Nope, not even close.
Well, so what was before the Big Bang?
Nothing. There doesn't have to be anything. We don't need that answer to keep going forward. I don't have a hole there in my life because I don't know that I need to fill with a God.
How come everything that is in the sky, like all the planets and everything below, is like the same?
Because you have a convergence of what works. We have a certain set of physical rules in our universe, and things work this way and don't work that way. You end up with planes of material for your galaxies. You end up for solar systems. You end up with those systems being flat planes that
how do those
slowly
rules
converge into planets.
How do those rules take place though? Like how do the
don't care. They are the rules of our universe, and we are figuring them out as we go.
Yeah. See,
like, that's my problem with religion. Because I don't know an answer, I fill it with God. I don't have to fill that. We'll figure it out someday, and I hope I'm alive when we do. But I don't need to fill it with like some witchcraft. I'm cool with this. I'll learn as I go.
That's where I'm at. But I also feel like I don't like organized religion. But at the same time, I do feel like there's more than meets the eye. Let's put it that way.
I do not.
I do believe in the spirit. I do spirituality. I do believe. I'm not saying I'm 100% like a god, dude. But I wouldn't doubt it. Like I wouldn't doubt it. I feel like something did create this whole thing, and I don't know how or why.
I am devout on.
Like even look at the whole, like even the quantum physics. They're looking at like simulation theory. Well, if it's a simulation, what does that mean? It's like a computer game. Someone does. Who's the programmer? You know what I mean? It's like
but at that point, if it's a computer game, then that person isn't God. That's just a computer programmer.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
but again, we'll figure it out sometime. That'll be cool.
We will.
I hope we figure some of it out while I'm alive. It'd be nice to know.
No, I don't think so. I think it'll be like a billion years before we know anything, because we know nothing. We really, all of us, we know nothing at this point.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We're still learning so much all the time. But like one of the lucky things, like that I've told Chad before, is that I get to listen to audiobooks every single night because of my never-ending night terrors every single night of my life. And that's nothing to like feel pity about. It's just how it is.
With night terrors, you mean like sleeping?
Yeah.
Nightmares?
Yeah, nonstop. But there's the camera again. I think you guys can still hear me though. I'll be in and out because the system's just crashing. But it's hard for me to go to sleep, so I listen to audiobooks, which means I've gone through every great course, every teaching company, every book you can imagine from every major author, like thousands of them. Which means I get to keep up. Like I look and I find the ones from the last month, and I do all that. You guys should see what my computer is doing right now, because I'm getting like notifications up there that another thing has like crashed and then the camera's restarted. But when the notification comes up, like you get that little box and it says like this application, here's your message and here's your body. It's actually showing application _ name, application _ title, application _ message is the message. So like this system is really crashed. We are barely alive here. I have no idea how video is coming out of this computer.
Lauren just pointed out, Lauren, the Spun and Spoon wrote, I think it's God.
If you're out there, God, fuck you. That's what I've got to say.
God is pissed. Someone else wrote, God is pissed. I think you pissed off God, Greg. You know what though? This happened to me. Like you should have seen it. Like my whole computer, just I've never seen it. Like total blue screen, and yeah, this stuff. This is why I dislike being the producer and the host at the same time. It's
right.
Brutal. I like this. I'm the guest. I just laugh. I'm just having fun right now.
I'm enjoying this.
You're having to deal with the crash computer. My computer looks great.
It'll come back, I'm sure. I'm gonna need like 600 or so more subs, and then I can afford to fix some of this shit. But thanks for the sub there, Vassar. Thank you. 3 months. I love it. I think that's the max we can have right now. Yeah. So there you go. Max subs. 3 months.
That's awesome.
Because that's when we started this fun thing. One of the things I wanted to tell chat is I've been working on collecting all the old files from my old podcast, which was 64 episodes. And it was during basically the election cycle for 2016. So there's tons of stuff about, Trump, about the Russians, about all the oligarchs over there, where they were funding, the various flights they took to islands where, for some reason, on this small little island of 50 inhabitants, Oleg Deripaska's people landed, and then an hour later, some of Trump's people landed, and then, I don't know, they took off a couple hours later. Who knows what they did on that? But all that type stuff is in these, so I'm down to only missing audio for one episode, and as soon as I get that recovered, which I think will be in the next few days, I'm gonna turn them all into video files so I can upload them all into a playlist on the YouTube, so if anyone wants to go through those, there'll be 64 more episodes. I don't know that anyone wants to go through 64 episodes of that stuff, but it'll be there, it'll be tagged, it'll hopefully win some searches for some of these bad people's names, because we talk a lot of shit on them. And you'll get some early interviews with people like Rod and Vermin, and all the other fun people from way back when. So that'll go up soon. What about demons? I do not believe in demons because I don't believe in literally any of that stuff. Again, man, if it's not hardcore science, then I ain't there. So now the devil is all over my Ethernet. Well, there we go. So I have no idea how much longer we got here, but does chat want us on any other stuff? Hey, let's talk about this one. Today, I tweeted out a screenshot of the email that Parler has put together. It's a part of a list of what they had on AWS for their hosting. So how many instances they were using, how much bandwidth they were using, how much file space they need, what type of a configuration they need in order to run Parler. And it was basically a request for, hopefully you can help to various hosting providers. And we all thought they were going to end up with Epic. And because the domain has ended up over at epic.com, epik.com. But Epic doesn't have anywhere near the capability to provide what this list of requirements is asking for. So we have no idea where they're going to end up. But the only way they end up anywhere with that level of hardware is to go to a foreign provider. And there are a couple Russian providers, a couple European providers that might be able to pull this together that aren't AWS or Google or Microsoft Azure. But they're a very small number of them. Thank you, Rod Weber, for the Tier 3 sub. Look at that. So it'll be fun to see which country they pop up in and which one really puts up the value proposition for them. I am honestly guessing it's Russia. And not even Russia is everything problem. I think it's the only place they can go for their needs that will actually support them. So it'll be fun to watch where that goes. But you can check out my Twitter at Gregg Housh to see that image, because I would load it up here, but I think clicking any buttons are going to cause OBS to crash. So I'm not going to click any buttons.
Speaking of the money, I hope the feds investigate the money. Like
for Parler?
Just everything. It's like Alex Jones. I haven't trusted.
Alex Jones makes all his money grifting them with those fake healthcare products.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I think it's a front. I've thought it was a front from day one. I'm like, he's not actually selling any of those products. It's a front. I really do. I don't buy that business model that he's selling. Vitality and those all that crap. I don't believe he's buying it. Selling that to his low rent audience. I do not. It just doesn't make sense. I think there's a lot of money coming from somewhere else. He took on a lot of debt. So I want to know. I would love the FBI to investigate where all his money comes from.
I'm sure that's an IRS job, and I'm sure they probably are. Especially with everything going on lately, giving them a little more purview into take action here. But Yeah, all of them. Well, one of the, there's a lot of interesting theories about Parler. One, we know the Mercer family put money up for this.
That's right.
But we also know a lot of interesting things about him meeting his wife, who was
the Russian.
Only over here from Russia for a couple-week vacation, and then going back to Russia and spending time there before coming back to start the alt-right's new home at Parler.com. So there's a lot of questions about foreign involvement in the development of this site that are interesting to kind of go down. I don't think anyone's gone far enough down that rabbit hole yet, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Well, the issue, like Rick Glass brings up Shinjiro, and Shinjiro, for anyone who doesn't know, like if you ever find yourself somehow on a website that is somehow, let's call it, officially associated with the Taliban or Al Qaeda or any of these people, it's probably hosted at Shinjiro. Anyone can host there, though. You can go to Shinjiro's website and just pay to get a VPS. But they host there because Shinjiro laughs at any foreign governments who send them letters asking for evidence, a site to go down, anything. There were videos in the past, like 10 years ago, where the Shinjiro people had like a letter from the FBI, and all they said was, we don't read English, and then they tore it up, lit it on fire, and threw it in a trash can. And that's where you're going to find a lot of these bad guys hosted, and you can host there too. The problem is they don't have much in the way of actual bandwidth, so they can't offer the level of hosting. Now, I will say that using Parler and seeing what it was able to accomplish and kind of how shaky its foundations were, man, with the amount of hardware they're saying they were throwing at it, people could have reproduced freaking Twitter with that amount of stuff. And I'm sorry, but Parler was nowhere near them in terms of how good the tech was and how powerful the back end was. So they were so inefficient. Like, the amount of hardware they were throwing at this thing is stupid. Like, those requirements, like half of those requirements would get you Parler if it was done by a proper dev team. But yeah, I mean, that's why I don't think they end up at a Shinjiro. There's no one that offers that kind of hosting that has the power they need. I mean, we're talking hundreds of gigs a minute just in between nodes. And they just don't have that at those providers. So who knows? We're gonna see where they go. But if you look at my Twitter there, you'll see the image that shows like exactly what they're saying, like 40 i3 Metal instances and 768 gigs of RAM on all their database instances and stuff that providers who aren't AWS or Azure don't have.
Don't have it, yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how they reconstruct this. It really does need to be rebuilt from the ground up, though, if that's the level of hardware they were throwing at it. I mean, again, serving way more page views and way more interactivity is something like Stack Exchange, and it's doing it from a couple servers. Like, I mean, no, there's something wrong here.
It sounds like it. I mean, they lost all their data. They got hacked.
Rod Weber asks about my beard and my image. Here's my problem, Rod, and maybe you can help me solve this. I do not photograph well. Not that I think there's anything inherently wrong with me. I just literally can't stand still for a photograph or not close my eyes or not look awkward in a photo, right? So when you look at my avatar on everything, that little gray thing, I actually, like, frame by framed through a video and found the one where I looked like okay, and then screenshotted that out of an episode of Vice's Cyber War series that they had me in, and that's my avatar, because like no one who like says, okay, take a picture, like has ever gotten me to like look in a way that I like as an avatar. If you think you can pull that off, by all means, I'll take a color avatar. Let's go. Someone figure that out. I mean, I do look goofy in all of my avatars. Like, it's exactly. Thank you. I'm feeling it. Feeling the love.
Bellamy 420 says, I think Rod wants to comb your beard, Greg.
I mean, I'd let it. Oh, I'm a big deal. Yeah, that is definitely not true. But I'm having fun with this. This has been great. Let's see. Stack Exchange is where you go when all else fails you. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people kind of go there first these days. Finding that upvoted answer that is actually marked as true, no matter how good you think you are, is usually actually going to be better code than you would have written yourself in a lot faster time period. So, like, I love Stack Exchange. That place is great. Nick is awesome, who runs, like, their whole setup there. What else does chat want to hear about? Did we miss anything from today or the last couple days? I think we're pretty on point here. I mean, I still think the signaling from the Oval Office of Cesar Chavez's bust being behind him is interesting. We'll see if he can live up to putting that behind him, because for me, that's a big thing to live up to. I don't know that Biden has it in him. I'm having trouble believing he lives up to that. Yeah, it's a big ask.
Yeah, I don't think. I just don't think it's even possible in this day and age, you know, to live up to what you're kind of looking at, you know, unless there's a movement behind it.
Well, it's not possible when the first thing you see happen when Schumer and Pelosi get control is Schumer starts talking to McConnell about how they're going to share control. And when you see McConnell get control 4 years ago, 5 years, 8 years, when he got control, you see him being like, all right, iron fist. You know, Schumer is just bowing down even though they have the power now. Like, the second, so that's the problem with, like, the leadership in the Democratic side's backbone.
51 votes isn't really power, though. You know what I mean? It's like, it seems like you need more than 60 votes for most
I get
stuff.
that you need to work a little with people, but, like, I mean, just instantly bowing down to the Republicans again. Like, exactly. Schumer is weak.
We'll see.
Will CISA play? I mean, I hope they play a bigger role in our cyber defense.
Well,
I
mean, someone just asked, I'm wondering about it. He says, do you see any significance with the NLRB lead attorney being asked to resign? I didn't even hear about that. What's up with that?
Do I see significance in it? I mean...
Have you heard about it? I didn't even hear about it.
I only saw a tweet mention that it happened. I haven't actually seen any of the news, so I'm not studied up on it, but... There have been some interesting NLRB findings in the last couple years.
Well, my show has been sponsored by a union recently, and we have a lot of unions we've been talking to, especially union reps that I talk to, like, you know, even off the show. And they've been telling me that the NLRB has been stacked with Trump people and Republicans. Oh.
And that's what I'm thinking, like, just with the FCC and all the others that we need to see, you know, the basic stacking of the right removed from, that this is probably a move like that. And I'm hoping that that's what we're doing there, because
I mean, that's what we need.
NLRB is important.
We need somehow to get this labor movement moving again. It's like the gig economy isn't working for people, and like part of that, I like what you were talking about, the Andrew Yang thing. What is it, UIB or whatever?
UBI, Universal Basic Income.
But what I didn't like about, someone mentioned it in the comments too, I'm glad we're going back to that, is one person mentioned in the comments about that earlier that they didn't like Andrew Yang's proposal because it was weird, it was wonky. You know, you could take the UBI, but you'd have to give up your Social Security and Medicare. It's like, no one's going to do that.
Right, but his version of it was that the UBI would be so much that because they got to get rid of those systems that were taking so much government overhead, so much money, that they would give you enough that it would make up for it, then it'd be on you. So I get where he's coming from, but I don't agree with it at all.
But I don't, because the healthcare thing is such a big issue.
Oh, yeah, I don't agree with it at all. I think proper Medicare for all, single payer, all that fun stuff is where we need to be. So, you know, Yang was interesting to me in that he pushed the UBI messaging forward here in America. He put it onto the news, you know.
Yeah, he made people aware of it for the first time
on the news, and that
absolutely
is a good thing.
I had been aware of it for a little while. You know, we talked about it in the show and stuff, and had some people, you know, talk about it, some guests, but no one knew. Yang, like the average person. I mean, I think a lot of people still don't know what it is, but if anyone, you know, if anyone in America knows, you know, percentage-wise what it is, it's usually because of Andrew Yang.
But then, like Rod's saying in the chat, the one thing that you've got to remember about Andrew Yang is the reason he's into all of this and at the level he's at is because of business. He is a businessman who, much like all the other super, like, you know, rich people we don't like for the things they've done to get there, Yang is really good at capitalism. And I haven't met many people who are that fucking good at capitalism that I also agree with once I really get down to like the brass tacks of what they're really saying. And so with Yang, you know, we've got to temper, you know, all the. It's great he got UBI on kind of the radar here, but you know, well, Tom Steyer is an interesting one in that, you know, supposedly through all of his language, he's changed his ways and he wants to, you know, and he's focused on all these things. But like, I still say that, you know, if you got there through a system that is inherently broken, that is inherently against the workers, that is inherently racist from top down, all these things that are systemic in our system, then if you won that game, you probably aren't that good of a person, like, internally. I agree with second chances. I agree maybe you've changed. It takes a lot to make me believe that you've actually changed, though. And I don't think any of them have made it there yet. I think Yang is interesting because,
so,
like,
you know, I think it's interesting. You feel like anyone that makes that much money is...
You can't make it there without exploiting people in this country. The only way you make that kind of money is by taking it out of the hands of other people, by wage theft, by underpaying, by any means possible that you can do. I mean, you don't get that kind of money. I'm
trying to think of someone that I could argue against you like on it, but I'm probably coming up blank.
It's hard to ethically gain.
I'm always looking for the outlier.
You know, it's hard to.
No, I'm like Apple. I don't know. No, probably not. They rip people off overseas. I don't know. I'd have to think about that.
Yeah, I mean, by all means, next time you're on, have someone lined up for
what
us
about
to tear down.
what about it? Like who's the richest musician ever? Like, what about Oprah? Is she exploiting people?
That is an interesting one. You know,
what about Michael?
I would say with Oprah, you've got an argument there. Having lived in Chicago and looked up at that nice tower that she lives in right on the water, the one thing I did always find funny living there was it was her, and then like the floor above her and the 2 floors below her were all like musicians, like that. The top floors of that building in Chicago. The Red Rocker who cannot drive 55.
Rod says Oprah is exploiting her guests for sure. I don't see that.
Well, so some of her guests definitely. I mean,
like who?
But she also has a lot of products. Who knows where they're made? I don't know.
I know someone who became a millionaire overnight for going on Oprah with his book. Like who is he? Who does she exploit for guests though?
Let's do some research.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen her as like the Jerry Springer.
Oh yeah, well, Jerry Springer definitely exploits his guests. You know?
But I don't see her like that. I guess you could say she exploited Tom Cruise. I guess. I mean, he went on there to promote movies, so I don't know. You know. I don't know.
Yeah.
He says Jello Biafra for one. I guess I missed that one.
No, we got to get Jello on the show. Thanks for that offer.
Yeah, I don't know how anyone exploits Jello. I mean, especially if he went on our show. I don't get that one.
Mike's show is the Young Jurks, Jurks. If you go to my Twitter, the tweet about this show has it linked.
Yeah, we're everywhere on Twitter, podcasts. We're streaming now on Twitch too. We haven't actually done a Twitch show yet, but our next show will be streaming on.
So you're almost there.
We are. We have it. So look us up, Young Jurks on Twitch. You can follow us because our next show we definitely will be streaming on Twitch. That's like our new thing now.
So I think we're about an hour into babbling and rambling on.
I think more than that. I think it's like 2 hours, Greg.
Right? Oh yeah. Well, I mean the whole show, sure, but we had some stuff to talk about. You know, now I think we've been rambling for a little bit.
I see. Yeah.
We do this at the end of every show, and sometimes the end is half the show.
I like the comments. I always like comments.
The chat has always been amazing here since like day one. We've always had great interaction.
See, this is great for me because I'm not really used to Twitch. I don't know much about it, honestly. I like video games. I like Tecmo Bowl back in the day, but I knew that if I did too many video games, Yeah, I knew if I did too many video games, I'd waste my whole life away. You know,
Right.
so I won't allow a system in my house. So
Well, back
I'm not
then
like
it
a
was
big
hard
Twitcher.
to be an esports pro. Now that's a thing.
I know, right?
You don't have to waste your life away. You can make millions.
Yeah,
doing
but
it.
I was never that good at it. I was,
Oh.
I was like, I was the guy who would keep losing. Like, at Tecmo Bowl, I would play everyone over and over again just to win one game. You know what I mean? Like,
How do you lose at Tecmo Bowl? It's simple. You choose the Raiders and you
dude,
play Bo
I'll be
Jackson.
up 21-0 in the first half and still lose. It's
Bo
like,
Jackson can't be tackled.
with Bo Jackson.
He
I'll
can't
find
be
a way to
tackled.
lose.
He's faster than
I
everyone
will
in the
find
game.
a way to lose, Greg. Believe me.
I literally scored on average
I know.
every 30 seconds when I played with Bo Jackson.
Yeah.
Because he's that fast. Like, I had 100-plus point games with him in that game. I love Tecmo Bowl. That was fun.
The Hail
I mean, it
Mary
was
pass, I
exploitive.
love that. Oh, I love Tecmo Bowl. So it's a Twitch is
Will
full
Cruz.
of chuds. What is a chud?
It's a chud. I can't pull up the actual definition, but it's basically what all the right wingers. And
That's
the,
what I was
and the
saying.
Proud
It's
Boys
a
and all
right wing
that is.
idiot. It's a typical D-bag guy.
Yeah, it's a typical d-bag right-wing alt-righter Proud Boy type. It has an actual meaning. It's from a thing. It's like da 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 da. It's an acronym. But yeah, cannibalistic humanoid underground dweller.
Oh.
Yes. I can't bring up any of my notes about all this stuff because if I click on anything, I think we lose the stream. Yeah, somehow OBS is barely surviving here. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, good times. The chuds. Well, a lot of chuds are sitting in jail cells right now. And that is fun to watch. What else does chat want to talk about? What do you got for us? Are we done? Are we gonna go play some Tecmo Bowl now?
I think so. I don't have a system though. I don't have anything. I don't. I should probably get on like one of those. I don't know. I don't even know how to. I wouldn't even know how to start playing video games again.
Oh, I mean, just get an
Get an
emulator.
Xbox. Yeah, no. I'd see. My girlfriend will kill me. Get a Switch. No.
No,
I spend enough time on the internet. I don't
Right.
need to. Yeah. I like this one. Someone asked a question. Will Cruz get kicked out of the Senate? What do you think?
I don't think so.
Me neither. But he should.
He should, but if they do it, they're setting a precedent that it can be done in modern times. And no politician wants to set precedent that politicians in the same job as them can be removed from office. I don't think they want to set that precedent. I literally think that's the only argument they have against it, is that they don't want to set the precedent that they might get kicked out. He definitely should, but that's where I think we're stuck.
I will beat you at Mario Kart, Splendid Spoon says. I'm sure you will.
Oh,
that's
you
why
want to
I-
go? You want to go?
That's why I can't, because I'll be so mad.
I'll
get
speed
so
run
angry.
Rainbow Road in 30 seconds, and you'll wonder how I finished 3 laps in 30 seconds. Let's
There we
go.
go. See, and I'll get angry. I'll be like, I'm gonna play this all night until I beat him. No.
Let's go.
Oh, I like this one. I love these people. You guys are being led by Rothschilds and Bill Gates and microchips. Hey, buddy, you're the guy who writes that stupid shit, right? The Rothschilds.
Yeah.
That, number one, that is anti-Semitism. Number two, Rothschilds haven't been anybody in like 100 years. You're like an idiot. Like you're a moron.
Yeah, at least if you had said the Vanderbilts, we could go with people like Anderson
Seriously.
Cooper and whatnot, who are actually
Yeah.
Vanderbilts.
Yeah.
Like there are some that you can, throw out there that are easy.
I mean, you might as well just like throw out like what's the rich family in like Shakespeare, like use that family. I mean, it's just like ridiculous. People are so dumb. Like I just
They really are.
the surface dumbness when you think you're like brilliant throwing that out there. I just want to throttle you. I know I said I'm anti-violence, but those are the people that I just want to punch. I swear to God, it's a stupidity, and they think that they're really smart.
Yeah.
Someone wrote the guy is a chud, textbook chud.
Yeah, that's what they mean by chud. Although
That's
again,
what a chud is. Thank you for proving the
although
point. Chud.
again, hi Mark there. Hate views are views, and the debate in the chat is good for me. So keep it
No,
up.
I agree.
And subscribe and follow, because
We do this on the other thing we have, myself, my show, is we have the Facebook group,
Catapults.
and we do so much. It's so funny because most of our audience is, most of the people on our Young Jurks Facebook group 100% get it, but we always have like a couple idiots in there just because it keeps it fun.
Dude, they drive all of the people to keep talking.
And then they get piled on, and then they cry, and they either leave or
Nice.
it's. Then we have to find a new couple guys every few months. It's just funny. Yeah.
Thank you, Doxy, for gifting.
You're getting a lot of subscribers tonight, huh?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, invite all of your friends. Hate views or views, man. Let's go. So yeah, we have a few people who show up.
Someone writes, I love the comments. Mention the rush house, implying you're not just sucking your own D.
Welcome to the Thunderdome. The old Why We Protest days. Yes, that was fun times back then on those forums.
Oh, it's funny talking about conspiracy theories, Greg. Before I even knew you, I heard conspiracy theories about you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are a few out there. I find them hilarious.
I did too after I met you and realized who you really were. I was like, oh my God, so funny.
I just want one of the conspiracy theories that says I secretly have money or something to be true, because that would be so much better than currently. Oh God, yes, the Greg is anti-Fash Gordon. Yeah, no, I am not.
Yeah, definitely not anti-Fash Gordon. We know that.
I love everything good old anti-Fash Gordon does, though.
Yeah, we do.
The Greg runs the Pirate Bay one was funny back when the Pirate Bay was actually changing their homepage for our ops and putting up changing their logos and whatnot for their millions of viewers. I thought it was hilarious, and people Greg or one of the others behind Why We Protest must secretly run the Pirate Bay. No, I do not.
I like this one. Greg is Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, spelled that way specifically. I'm the off-brand Jeff Bezos, the one that doesn't have any money.
Bezos. I think it's
the one without
Jeff
a Z.
Bezos.
Yeah, that was good times.
The Rothschilds are being controlled by aliens that landed in Roswell.
Yeah, it's so obvious. I know, right?
The Rothschilds, isn't that the David Icke thing? The Rothschilds are aliens.
Well, I'm gonna plug a Friends show here. Hi, Mark. You would like Fade to Black, where they talk about all these conspiracy theories and aliens and paranormal and all the the fun stuff. You would enjoy that.
Are they like hippy dippy, believe everything, or are they skeptics? How are they?
They are closer to believe everything than skeptics, definitely. If you were on kind of a 100% and here are skeptics and here are believe everything, they're about here. But if you're into that type of stuff, that's a good place to go get all that.
Yeah, I only like a few. I've been down every rabbit hole. I think. I mean, I watch a lot of conspiracy theory videos on YouTube, but I just most of it is just crap.
I just think the truth is so much better than the conspiracy theories.
Yeah, you can't make it up. And it's so funny how wrong conspiracy theories are. I'll give you a perfect example going way back. In Boston, South Boston specifically, for decades, if you went to South Boston, if they would talk to you, if they wouldn't bite your face off for asking, which I've asked people in the past from South Boston about Southie, because Whitey Bulger was the known guy who ran South Boston. This is before any of the crap came out about the
before
FBI.
The public knew about the Winter Hill Gang.
You ask people in Southie, what's going on? Who runs South Boston? Who is this Whitey Bulger guy? And they would either say, shut the fuck up, or I'll beat the fuck out of you if you ever ask me about that again, which usually, but if they knew you and they actually trusted you, they would tell you that Whitey Bulger was protecting South Boston from drugs. Whitey Bulger, that was a conspiracy theory that was out there, that Whitey Bulger was the patron saint of South Boston. But the real conspiracy was that Whitey Bulger was working with the FBI, number one. He was a government informant.
Yep.
Number two, Whitey Bulger was not protecting South Boston from drugs. Now, South Boston was the white part of Boston, the white poor part of Boston. So, you know, they would basically he would basically tell the entire neighborhood that he was keeping all the drugs in the black section of Boston. Yeah. And that he would protect the poor white part of Boston, which was mostly South Boston, where they were from. And the reality was, when it all came out, is that Whitey Bulger, there was a bit of truth in his lie that he was protecting South Boston, because what he would do is, if you set up to sell drugs in South Boston, within a week you would get a knock from Whitey Bulger's gang. Yeah. And they would say, you have two choices. One, you can leave town and never come back. Or number two, you can give us money every week and pay us tribute. And if you don't, you'll be dead. Yeah. So basically he ran all the drug deals. He never sold drugs himself, but he collected money from them and let them be in business. And that's the absolute reality. And it's like, so many times the street gets it wrong on the conspiracy theory. And the real conspiracy is looking you right in the face. And they do exist, but you don't know about them. And it's like, eventually the truth usually comes out. Like they did on Whitey. People figured it out. People know that he was a rat. People know that he was working with the FBI. People know that he was making money off drugs being sold in South Boston. So I mean,
the conspiracy theories are always like, I don't know. It's just I have the problem that the truth is just as bad as any conspiracy theory.
That's right.
There. So why do we need them?
No, we don't.
We have the truth, and
that's
it's
what
not
I love
better.
looking at. Yeah, when you look at the truth, you're like, wow, this stuff is like, you can't even make it up. Like it's. So I don't know. You know, one of the only conspiracies I like to talk about is Alex Jones. I've been mentioned his name a couple times tonight, but I would, I love this one because this is one that conspiracy theorists, a lot of them never want to look at. Is like, is Alex Jones actually Bill Hicks? I know it sounds crazy. I know people.
I think that's hilarious, but
they are most fringe. But you look
very
into
different
it.
People.
They seem different. That's what a lot of people want to make you believe, but same best friend, same place, same relationships, Joe, they have a lot of the same
structure is kind of hard to fake.
Same teeth look the same. I mean, you look at them, they actually do look a little, look very similar in my opinion. Now there's a lot of things that don't line up, the bigger thing about the Alex Jones thing too, if you like, I'm not one of these people that like believes, Paul McCartney or the Rush Limbaugh is Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Morrison, all the body double crap, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But if you actually look at Alex Jones, there's videos of him way back in the day. He's a skinny looking, like kind of like a different looking guy than like a year later, he's this fatter, pudgier guy that there are two different Alex Joneses. I'm convinced of that.
Right, but if you look back at like videos, like you can find my favorite is the cable guy, Larry the Cable Guy. If we're talking about Bill Hicks, Larry the Cable Guy, look up the video of him doing stand-up comedy before he became Larry the Cable Guy, because he is from Connecticut. Sounds like he's from Connecticut, is wearing khakis with a Dockers button-up tee and talking like he just got out of Yale. He is no redneck. He made all that up. It's a character. He's actually just some rich kid from Connecticut playing to the idiots who he thinks will pay him money.
That's what I wonder if Bill Hicks was.
That whole crew of people are definitely fakers. But I just don't think Bill Hicks is doing that.
If I had to put money on it, I would bet not. But I love just bringing that conspiracy theory up.
It's a funny one. I just don't think.
But the Alex Jones thing, I really want people to look at the old. There's an old video of Alex Jones, like in the studio way back in the day. It's not the same guy that you see a year later at the Branch Covidian. It's not. It's just there are two different people, and I really think someone was playing Alex Jones and someone else played that role, and I don't know why. Like that is one conspiracy I'm all about. Like there's something up with Alex Jones.
There's a lot of things up with Alex Jones.
Even his age is off. It's so funny about Alex Jones. I've been so focused on him. A few years ago, you can find it on YouTube. I don't post there anymore, but we have a new YouTube channel. But Mike Cann, I posted a lot of videos on the YouTube, and there's one video where I specifically tell everyone that Alex Jones is an actor, which a lot of people were saying at that point, just like WWE. He's playing a role. And then 2 years later, Alex Jones comes out. His lawyer says what? He's just playing a role. I mean,
Yeah. It's the same
something's off
arguments
with
that a lot of entertainment people have to do. I mean, they used it when Fox News was in court, saying that they were only entertainment and not news, therefore they didn't have to tell the truth.
And
Like,
that's going to be their new. You're going to hear that a lot more from Fox News because they're going to get sued the crap out of. A lot of these people are.
does anyone else, when they like read the word suit, instantly go in their head to that scene from Tommy Boy, big guy in a little coat? Because that's where I go every time I hear the word suit. I just see him taking the suit coat and just. That's every time.
I never watched those movies.
How did you not watch everything Chris Farley ever did?
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, you
I'm just not like that kind of. Yeah. I'm not. I'm more likely to watch a conspiracy theory or a real documentary. You know what I mean?
Fat
Those
guy in a little coat. I love that whole thing. Oh wow.
Someone's looking to get doxxed here. I don't know what's going on.
Look at this. We got. Keep the chat going.
Oh boy, they're going at it.
What is pulling someone's IP address do? It does
I don't
nothing.
Yeah, we're talking about Alex Jones. The other
He
thing that gets me.
doxing you. Posting your Reddit is not doxing you.
Alex Jones is supposed to be older than me. Sorry, younger than me.
Yeah.
I don't buy it. Do you? Do you think Alex Jones is younger than I am?
I don't know his age. For that matter, I don't know yours.
Just look at us. Who? If you looked at us both, who would you think was younger?
You probably.
By how many years?
2, 3.
2? Really? That's it?
Max.
I would say about 15 years. I'd say I look about 15 years younger than him.
If you didn't have any of the gray in the beard like I do, I would agree with you. But that's what throws me.
That's maybe the giveaway, but especially if I'm clean shaven. Yeah.
Yeah. When I clean shave, like 5 years goes away. So yeah.
So let's say we're both clean shaven.
Well, then I would give you maybe 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I would give my. Yeah, no. He's a couple years younger than me. That's another weird one about him. I just Someone said you're so young and sexy looking. Rod said.
Nice.
Oh no.
I
may be young looking, but
now.
I'm not sexy looking. It's pretty funny.
Wow.
Rod's always busting our balls here, buddy.
Dude, me and you. But we love Rod, and yes, as Rod mentions, the dumpster fire 2020 is coming.
One. Yeah, Rod's the only one that's got mentioned by Alex Jones here. I don't know. Has he ever mentioned you?
Once, but this was like 11 years ago. It was a while ago. It was way back near the beginning of all of this.
It was also funny way back in the day too when I started talking about this stuff about Alex Jones. I did a couple of videos on him about being an actor, about his age, kind of hinting around about the Bill Hicks thing. Next thing you know, Kevin Booth goes on my best friend's show, which is really weird.
Right.
I thought that was weird. And then next thing you know, Kevin Booth goes on Alex Jones's show and they start talking about the Bill Hicks thing. I don't know. I it's funny because I see the coincidence. Like tonight,
right?
Your show is episode 27. That's like my birthday. You know what I mean? Like, so there's always weird coincidences. You don't know. You really don't. It doesn't prove anything.
Nothing.
That really doesn't. I just like to, think about things.
So, we've talked a little conspiracy theory. The chat has devolved into threats of doxing, which is fun to watch.
I think most conspiracy theories are full of shit, though. Even though I probably sound like a raving mad one because I'm going on Bill Hicks and Alex Jones.
Indeed. So, all right, chat. I think we are going to call it. We are at like 2.5 hours here when we add up both streams after the fix. And I am feeling like I might need to attend to this computer in its current condition. So I think we are going to call this one. And I will have to find a way to stitch the 2 episodes together and put them up on YouTube and all the other fun stuff. But look out for the next few days when I get all of the old episodes up, because it'll be a huge dump of uploads kind of all over the span of probably 2 days as it takes me that long to upload them, because I'm not a partner at YouTube yet, so I don't get the bulk uploader. Yes, I do need another Pepsi and some more food. All right, love you guys. Thanks for all of the fun times tonight. Thanks for sticking with me through the crash. And I can't click any of the things that let me raid or host anyone, so we're just calling it tonight. If you guys want to go somewhere else as a group, talk it over in the chat. But good night, everyone.